peckers and pleasers alike, and welcome to our Campaign 1 checkpoint, where we are discussing the campaign with the last 2 seasons and pretty much going screen down, asking Beardy as much as we can about things that happened or each other as players with our characters. Anything's kind of on the table unless someone says they can't answer it. So, with that, this one's going to be a little more of an informal talk show today. So I'm wondering if anyone has like opening questions they'd like to start with, maybe around season 1 or season 2. I don't think I really care when. Just spew it out.
Should we still introduce ourselves just to say hi?
Yeah,
Okay.
they should probably know who we
here.
are.
Hi, my name's Keni. I played Risen and Soul in Campaign 1, along with Marculus and Soluna, and like a bar person who flirted with Kurla and Petra at some point, and I think that's it.
And you
Sounds about
DM'd a
right.
bunch of holiday specials.
I DM
Yes,
all the holiday
true.
specials now.
Yes. I'm Foaly. I played Kurla in Season 2. I was not around for Season 1.
I'm Xeno. I played Vera. RIP. Rest in pieces. That's all I did. It was a good time.
I'll
I'm
go last.
Skrewy. I played Petravian and Marcus, the Not Destroyer.
Do you remember his last name?
Marcus Cupseye.
There you go. Okay.
And I'm here too. And I played Levette. And my name is Grem. And I don't get to be here often.
That's true. It's been a hot minute since we've had you on Checkpoint, so thank you so much.
I'm so happy to be here.
It's great to see you.
Yeah.
Beardy.
Hello, I'm Beardy. I had the great pleasure of being the DM of Campaign 1, and I played Ailery Balana, Ada Syad, Alduin, Alec Graham, Alicia Schwan, Ambraxis of Sumburgia, Annelise Telek, Abrasia, Archibald, Osterus, Baran, Afsel, Bailey, Bernhardt Telek, Biff the Cantankerous, Bogdan, Bernie, Burr, Calcutta. It goes on and on and on. Hi, I was the DM and I played every single NPC, but it was a wonderful time. Hi. If I brought a DM screen, I should have dropped it at the beginning of this to make the point. But yeah, I'm very happy to answer any questions about season 1 and 2 / campaign 1, however you want to call it.
I'll start.
Yeah. All right. Sure.
What
I can
the
bring it
fuck
on.
is
Let's do this.
horse?
Yes.
What do you mean,
That
what?
was. I think that
That
must
was-
have been
we
on
were told.
everyone's question list.
I don't
It
know what
was
you're
certainly
talking
on
about
mine.
because horse
yeah,
is
we were
horse.
told
Like,
that horse was the Iron Angry God many
Yeah.
times.
yeah. So when you say what is horse, I need you to define your question of what
Okay.
is what. What does what mean in this say?
So when Corona interacted with Cletus, eventually
Uh-huh.
named,
Yes.
Riz was like, "This is my horse," and he was like, "Right."
Right. Wink, wink, wink. This is your
So-
horse.
Is what everyone saw the Eye of an Angry God? What exactly is that? I need like more of like a literal explanation of what horse really
This
is.
is a god that was angry and they were watching you with their eye.
I do want to point out before Beardy answers that that description was my interpretation of the way that Beardy described it.
Yes.
I just want to know.
I don't think that's non-literal.
Well, it is quite accurate. Cletus, or horse, however you want to look at that entity, is in a way kind of an insurance policy. Thess, as you came to find out, sent Riz on effectively a vacation to kind of like chill out and experience mortal life and kind of step out of their normal role of being basically a reader of the stars and to kind of experience what mortal life was like. And they didn't want them to have a bad time, and they didn't want them to get hurt or damaged or killed, really. So they sent along a little insurance policy in the form of a horse that was a bit more than a horse. So yeah, so like it did a couple things. It magically made sure that Riz could communicate with anyone and everyone all the time. So that's why being close to the horse allowed Riz to communicate with anybody of any language. And it's also why like Riz started to talk nonsense as soon as Riz was away from the horse for any amount of time. But yeah, if someone had, done anything particularly bad to Riz while they were like on the road, like in an otherwise unsafe place, and they probably would have gotten exploded, and Riz wouldn't have really remembered it. So
follow-up question: what happens if I touched horse?
That was mine too.
And mine.
So if you had touched horse, what you would have felt, your hands would have touched horse. You would have felt horse. You would have felt fur. You would have felt mane. You would have felt hair. You would have felt the soft, squishy lips of a horse, right?
Yeah.
But you also would have been overcome with a intense and tangible sense of dread as you realized that your death was but moments away. You would have realized that like you would have been overcome with the sensation of like seeing yourself dying in the incredibly near future. Like you would get like a premonition of yourself dying like in a second if you continued doing what you're doing. So you would kind of instinctually just take your hand back. You would not enjoy touching horse.
Okay.
So
That's
And
what
that-
asked us not to.
that
Yeah.
ties in with Petravian getting stunned that one time when he was near horse. I'm not quite remembering the exact circumstances there, but how does that all tie together?
Getting
Whatever.
stunned by horse?
Can you explain the scene more?
Yeah,
for Beardy,
set the
please?
scene for me.
I'm trying to remember it actually, but I know Petravian was near horse.
Oh,
He used
I
a
was
spell
trying
on
to. No. I got stunned because I was trying to break Riz's
weren't you-
curse.
Yeah, you were trying to cast some kind of remove curse or dispel or some
Yeah, and I got
such.
to one point and something looked at me, and because
Yeah, it was Thess. Thess was like,
Yeah.
fuck off. Get out of here.
That's the cause the stunning. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
This is like they're on vacation. Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave them alone. They're not taking
Jesus.
work right now.
Yeah, that's just
Skrewy, I'm curious. After
Yes.
the multiple times of being told that remove curse and dispel magic does not work on Riz, why keep trying?
Because I cared for Riz,
I know.
and I want.
That's a bullshit answer if I've ever heard one.
I don't know if it's a bullshit answer, but it does. But my follow-up question is, why try the same thing though?
I mean,
Well, there was
Petravian
one
is-
spell. There was one that I wanted to try, but I never did. Oh, gosh. Let's see if I can pull up the name of that really. But it was essentially the one that I could the high, for me it's a level 4 spell. I can't remember what the name of it is. But
What does it do?
I want it. What's that?
What does it do?
It's another basically remove curse, but it's the highest level that Petravian could cast. So I didn't try that one.
And it
I wanted
likely
to.
Wouldn't have
I
done
wanted to
anything
see what
anyway.
happened.
What if you got cursed?
Yeah, what would you have done if you had gotten cursed from trying to assist Riz?
Like you had to roll up a new character. His curse was the same as Shade's. He would just be gone. He'd just leave. We wouldn't know what's going on.
Petravian would just kind of like stand there for a second, blink a few times, have no memory of anything up to that moment in his life, and he'd just kind of wander off into the night. I mean, the last day they would see him.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay then. I'm glad I didn't try.
Yeah.
So, was Riz's inability to remember Thess just a part of that insurance policy to make sure that Riz enjoyed their vacation?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Just because Thess did not want to have Riz like remember a specific connection with Thess,
Hmm.
which is why like the Vardo didn't have a Thess symbol, and it was just kind of why like Thess was for a really long time just kind of a gap in Riz's memory or mind, right? And it was just like, yeah, of course I know I worship all the gods, and of course I have all the god symbols on my Vardo, blah blah blah, you know. But yeah, it was specifically to keep Riz from recalling any kind of specific connection.
This is such a good boss.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
right?
Like-
Christ.
Go take a vacation. Don't think about work while you're gone. And Riz is like, oh, I'm mine. They're like, don't.
Do not think about work.
All right. Thank you for answering that, Beardy.
Oh,
Does
that's
anyone
why
else
I'm here.
have a question?
What was Marcus Cupshigh's, had he lived, what was the planned goal for him in terms of what was his instruction?
His story, if anything.
So
And actually, if I may jump in, I had a connected question, which was at what point did you know that you wanted to go that direction with him, tie him into being a lost soul?
pretty much from the beginning. I had Marcus as a lost soul as soon as probably session 1.
Wow. Okay.
Like that was an early one because
That's
I was like,
Skrewy didn't give you a backstory.
Yeah,
I mean,
was
yeah.
gonna say.
yeah, Skrewy didn't give me a backstory. Skrewy gave me like this kind of half answer that it's like, oh, this is the same character from my last D&D game, which is in a different setting, and it's like, well, that's not really how this works. But that's fine. Like you can believe that. It's not going to be the case, but you can believe that. And then I was like, well, if we're starting up near the Deadlands, then I'm going to have this kind of interesting story where like one of the lost souls kind of just gets confused. I don't know if you guys are familiar too much with Lord of the Rings, like some of the deeper lore in it, but basically the wizards that get sent down to Middle Earth, some of those wizards just kind of got confused and went off on their own. And I was like, oh, that's kind of a fun idea of like a really powerful being that just kind of just gets distracted and then goes off and forgets its purpose. And it's like, that'll be
Oh, it was
Marcus.
Marcus, all right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, yeah. So if you ever want to read up on that, it's the blue wizards. Just read up on those fuckers. No, then again, never mind. That's a whole different conversation.
And to continue what Skrewy said, had Marcus have lived into season 2,
Yeah.
what would have happened, do you think?
So do you remember when you guys were resurrecting Mellifera
I sure
Yes.
do.
and things went sideways a couple times when some lost souls showed up because there was a lot of like
Yes.
divine energy in that? That's when Marcus would have activated had he survived to that
The
point.
Markturian candidate.
Yeah, he was the Markturian candidate. Yeah, he would have been there to like. He would have fucked up the resurrection of Mellifera, gotten a bunch of divine energy, and then bolted, and it would have like maybe resulted in Mellifera dying. Like that was kind of the idea, is that might have been like the thing that would have killed Mellifera like permanently. So it's interesting that it worked out the way it did.
So Vera was proactive in killing him for that.
Yeah, yeah, saved Mellifera's life. And now Melly's all fucking healthy and shit, and like has a physical form again. I mean, it's yeah.
See, Vera's right. No, it's justified. Murder's always
Yeah.
the answer.
Vera is the most justified and correct person in this whole campaign.
And I would have had to roll up a new character. Jeez, like, okay,
Yeah.
wow. That would okay. Part of me would have been interested to see how that played out.
Yeah, I mean, and the other question is like, if Marcus had decided to have Zell bond Marcus into the halfling form, what would the story have been? It's like, well, then it would have just been boring. He
Yeah.
would have just been a halfling. Congratulations. So thank you for taking the interesting option.
Except
Truly.
for the part where he didn't eat anything.
Oh, that's true.
Could
You
have been a
didn't-
salamander.
That's not true.
You could have been
He
a
didn't need it.
salamander. Oh my god.
Yeah,
That would've
that's
been so
true. You could have been
fucking
a
cool.
That would have been fucking
Didn't
amazing.
take anyone's body. How about that?
Yes. Yeah, that's a
descriptor,
more.
Grem?
Yeah.
That's true.
Mm.
To be fair, Moira barely had a body.
Moira Bear had a soul.
Ghost in the
Ooh.
shell, something.
Yeah. Something.
I have a connected
Hmm.
question, if I may ask.
Please.
Or are we just going to
Over
go
here.
like person to person in terms of
No,
questions?
no, we're here. So if you got a
Freeform it.
connected
Freeform.
question,
Just after a couple of questions, I'm probably gonna bring in a fan question at some point, just so that
Yeah.
we can
Oh, no,
also bring those
bring in a fan
in.
question.
Yeah.
Oh, you want a fan question? Okay.
Well, if
Yeah.
yours is related, I mean, we can keep on the same subject.
I-
No, you go. You go. I'll find one.
Okay. I was going to say, just mentioning that you were happy that choices went a certain way.
Mhm.
My question was, what was the most unexpected choice made by a player, either in the whole campaign or in season 1 or in season 2? What took you most by surprise as the DM?
One, Skrewy refusing to eat anyone as Marcus was one that really surprised me because it's like I kind of like laid down the groundwork of how this power works and how like Marcus could like literally like take over something else's body and kind of jump from form to form and become like this much more dangerous / powerful entity by using by kind of using this lost soul power that they had. And like I figured it'd be almost like a hermit crab, right, where they would just constantly be getting a bigger and bigger shell. And it's like, oh, that's really cool. And like by the end of this campaign, they're going to be some fucking magnificent motherfucker, right? And then they never jumped out of a halfling, and I was just kind of sad about
Screwy's
that.
too obsessed with Marcus to not be
So-
Marcus.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so
okay.
that was
I'll partially answer that. I'll answer to that. Marcus, as an idea, was my first,
yeah,
Everyone
and
remembers their first.
everyone remembers their first.
that's true.
Yeah.
And even though he really wasn't, he was technically the second. For me, the idea of him was still the original Marcus. And for me, it was hard to corrupt that. That ideal of him. Now, if this were 2-3 seasons down the way, and this was if this was season 3 character given this option, I probably would have taken it. But I couldn't do that to my boy. I could not split his soul any more than it
Such
was
a
already done.
disappointing reason.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah.
The moral reasoning that he just didn't want to destroy the existence of another creature after he had committed that sin once, and
Yeah.
that he was distraught
the
by it.
character. No, the character.
Oh, I know
is
that was the character. It's just we finally know they weren't in sync.
Yeah.
No, I was not. No.
So that was so to go back to the original question, that was one of two situations where a player made a decision that like I was taken by surprise and was just like, man, like I feel like it would have been a lot more interesting had the other option been chosen. So that was one with Marcus refusing to jump bodies. 2 was actually with Levette refusing to take the deal from in Mythalian.
That's right.
'Cause
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like,
I
oh
thought you were
man,
going to say
like
that, yeah.
Dark Elf Levette would have been so fucking awesome.
Yeah, I do agree,
but
I also I'm
It went the
happy,
way it
like,
went, right?
Yeah, I'm happy with how it went. She got a much better ending for it.
Was
But
that
yeah, I
the,
think it would have been pretty badass.
was that the one where you had to like take a break because you had to figure out what was going to happen afterwards?
No,
Or
that
was
was
different?
that was
That
a
was
different one. That was
Karestein.
Karestein.
That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fucked up.
It was like,
So-
oh shit.
I have
Yeah.
a question based on pivotal unexpected moments, and this might be reaching too far back because this is very far back.
I mean, I'll try to remember it.
Okay, so because one of the things I thought was going to get mentioned there was the whole thing about Levette going to like not refusing to leave the Steam Isle without futzing with Moira's device, basically.
Yeah.
And that obviously, and yeah, I think that's pretty clear at this point that threw plans askew.
Yes.
However, before that point, I went back to the recording way back when, and there's a part where you're like, I just want to say in advance, I'm sorry. So it's still going to be fucked, apparently. What was the original plan?
So the original plan was for Levette to try and save Moira at some point in the future, right? So like when the campaign like organically
Steam
gets
Isle.
to the Steam Isle, which would have been a little bit later. You guys would have been a little bit higher level, because you weren't supposed to like in my original arc. You guys
we
weren't.
just ran there.
You guys sprinted there,
Just
right? You went there early.
unprompted. Yeah.
So like in the original plan, you guys weren't supposed to go there until the whole thing with like the the MacGuffinite, and finding a way to breach reality and get to a different plane of existence, different world, and rather get through the barrier. So that would have meant you guys would have been there higher level. You would have had a little more experience under your belts. You would have been a little stronger, had a little more abilities. And that was when Levette was supposed to, air quotes, try to save Moira after having found Moira in a coma, or been stuck in a coma for many years. And I was going to leave it up to just like a couple of skill checks and be like, okay, cool, you fix the device, or you find that the polarity has been reversed in the device and you flip it and now Moira can wake up, kind of thing.
Okay.
And it wasn't, and it was because you went there early and decided to try to fix it at a lower level with lower
So
skills.
as soon as we were heading that way is when you were like, I'm sorry, this isn't gonna work, basically.
Yeah, basically like, oh, this is like, you're gonna jump the gun with this Moira storyline and it's gonna not be a good end for Moira.
No, sure. I think it went worse than we were expecting even then.
Yeah, honestly.
I mean, I told myself, I remember like periodically over the months be like, make sure Marcus does not go in the room. Make sure, no matter what, he does not even walk in the fucking building.
And yet,
how'd that work out for you, buddy?
And then I go back to listen to the thing and I realize why, but it's fine. Because we do like a head count of like who's gonna go in. Soul's like definitely not. I'm definitely in. Vera's like, I guess so. And Skrewy's like, Cata good? Marcus. And I look back and I'm like, of course that did not register in my brain as he's going to enter the building. Got a lot of shit on my mind.
Sorry.
I mean, it worked out in the end.
That's true.
Not for Moira.
Eventually.
And not to dominate the thing too much, but I got one other question related to that.
Yeah, what's up?
So there was another like little clue that was during that moment where when I was messing with it, there was this hint that like the device had been tampered with.
Yes.
And by somebody who like recognized it. Who was that supposed to be?
It was, the twins.
Okay. I wasn't sure if it was like when you're like someone who got close to it, I was like, that could be them, but yeah. So
the idea was that Daria and
Colm.
Yeah. Thank you. Colm and Daria effectively like checked the schematics, because this was a device that like Levette, if I understand the situation right, it was a device that Levette had designed and then submitted to like their school to be like, hey, I'm making this thing, it's gonna be great. And because of that, Daria and Colm learned about it ahead of time, and they're like, oh yeah, oh okay, and then kind of like snuck in, fucked with the machinery after Levette had already finished like that portion of it and reversed some of the mechanisms, so that way when Levette activated it, it did what it did, and it put Moira into a coma. So yeah, I mean, it was totally the twins were the ones that sent her into a coma. Absolutely.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I think I might answer one of my other questions then too.
Yeah. I mean, so whether or not they deserve to be killed, that's up to you.
Well, my other question was, did they go to hell when they died?
Actually, I can't answer that.
Oh shit! Oh yes, I'm excited to find that one out in person.
Yeah, I can't answer that question.
I hope they got fucking weird demon meat shit where the mechanics would be in hell.
Oh, I can't answer that.
Okay.
I actually had a follow up for Levette's character. What was the fate of her mother?
Yeah, I was actually gonna say the same.
Oh, of Lilith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
Okay.
get like an epilogue on
Sure.
her.
So Levette stayed out like from the end of the campaign, which was in 768, for about the next 8 years. Levette kind of perfected the machine, the mother device. Also like finished all of her business, like tied up a lot of loose ends, made sure everything was going to be okay without her like directly running stuff, and also spent a big amount of time and resources and money fixing and trying to fix and eventually kind of restoring Lilith back to dark elfdom. So yeah, I guess that would put it by 776 Lilith would have been back to normal. Effectively, what she did is once she became fixed from her curse, she tried to probably help in ways she could, and she is going to be still around, like living at least for the next campaign. So what she's up to then is time will tell, but
So
she's still around.
would she
Dark Elves
probably
a little
have another disguise necklace or something?
Possibly.
Is she in is still in Ville, or is she in the Steam Isle now? Or
That remains to be seen.
Okay.
I can't answer.
Did the shop clerk end up inheriting the business then, or taking over the business?
I can't answer that.
For the audience, anything pertaining to future campaigns, Beardy obviously cannot answer, so that's why there is some.
I will say that I've already written something specifically for that answer, but I will not answer it here.
Oh,
find out in the game.
Totally
I
fair.
am excited
When you say
/terrified to find out what happened to Rella.
Shopkeeper, you mean Rella, right?
Rella.
Yes, Rella. I
Okay,
just
okay.
couldn't remember the name.
Yep.
And when you can't remember the name of a character, you know where you should go? The Wiki.
Oh, look, the link is right there in chat.
Whoa!
Look at that! Hi, link in chat.
I just
Ba-ba-ba.
slipped that in quite subtly, didn't I?
It's rude to just slip things in, though.
Oh dear.
I
Mhm,
really
mhm.
should have. You know what? We're not going there.
Nope.
Do we have a fan question?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
From Pomegranate Paradox, they
Pom.
ask, does Karis ever start a vineyard?
Gosh, I mean, Karis really does like wine.
And I know there's probably
Oh
some
man.
leftover work from when Arya's day was around.
Right.
feel
So I mean,
shown
like,
up by that question. That's a fantastic question.
I feel like Arya. I mean, Arya definitely had a vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's where some of the original grapevines that Corona took were from that vineyard.
Yeah.
He got clippings from that vineyard. But yeah, I imagine that even by like Soul's Day, some of that vineyard is left. It might not be as big as it used to be, but it's probably still there. So I imagine Karis probably has a small vineyard already somewhere on the outskirts of town. It's now like, because the town had built up over time, obviously, and like the vineyard sort of shrunk because the town built up around it. And they probably relocated some of it, maybe. Yeah, I feel like Karis would probably try to expand that vineyard a little bit, just because she's a bit of a wino.
What?
But also there's already so much wine in that collection that there's not really any reason to like make more, because it's already more than Karis could possibly drink in a lifetime.
I mean, Arya did have like 100 years to make wine.
Oh yeah.
Also, Karis wouldn't be able to age the wine like as much as what she
Sure.
already has.
Well-
if Karis became a lich, would she then be able to have enough time to finish off all the wine?
Funny you should mention that. Liches can't actually eat or drink.
Oh,
They don't have a sense of taste or smell.
That's
Um,
tragic.
And they also can't digest food or imbibe alcohol. So those are things that I think would be counterproductive to Karis. So we'll see, but that would be pretty rough to go from being someone who really enjoys wine to someone who literally cannot taste it anymore.
Does she choose to become a lich?
I can't answer that.
Well, good
Ooh.
question from Pom. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Pom.
There are more questions from Palm that we will go over. There is also questions from Dancing Mop that were submitted. Thank you, both of you.
Awesome. So yeah, what else? What else? Anybody have?
Did the dragon enjoy the book that we
Yes.
gave him? Good.
Yes.
Good.
Dinosaur.
It's
Yeah,
Chuck
that-
Tingle. It's a fucking classic. You guys were
Taken
talking
by
about
the
it in the last
pterodactyl.
checkpoint. I couldn't pitch in, but Chuck Tingle is a master.
The fact that you remembered the name of the writer is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, he's a legend.
Yeah, I think the book was in the nest of the pteranodon. I think was the name of the book.
It was taken by the pterodactyl.
Taken by the
Yeah, Taken by
pterodactyl.
the
I'm
Pterodactyl,
Taken by the
sorry.
Pter- yep.
Taken by the pterodactyl.
I worked so
Okay.
hard on that wiki entry for it.
That's so
Thank you.
good.
It's an important
Yeah.
piece of lore that must be memorialized.
Oh boy. So yeah, I'll say the dragon enjoyed it. Sure. Same thing along with the booze. Why not?
And the drugs.
And the drugs.
hmm
I have a question for Foaly,
Yeah.
because I'm pretty sure Pollyanna is Latin. Could you let us know what Pollyanna means and why you named it that? Because you named the village, right?
Actually, Beardy named the village.
What?
Did I? Shit. All right.
There's your answer.
There you go.
I have no recollection of that happening. I'm sorry. If
So
that's how
I'm
that
sorry.
went down, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Kenny, I have no good answer for that, but
That's okay. It gets checked off of my list, I guess.
the village name was not... Yeah, Beardy was the one who came up with that, and if Beardy doesn't remember, then I don't know.
I have a
Sorry.
question for
Yeah, I don't
Xeno.
remember.
Yeah.
But thank you for asking.
Would, and to me the answer is yes, but would, before getting crystallized, would Vera have made an attempt to go liberate what's the name of that town?
Alien.
Yeah.
Methalion?
Yeah, Bethalion.
Did
Oh,
you
we-
call Methalion a town?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
So So-
I thought that's what you were talking about until you said town.
Yeah.
no, once again, obviously Vera has the Gios or whatever stopping her from going inside there.
Oh, that's right, the Gios.
But what we are doing is we're training up the Sisters of the Lesser so that we can stop more kidnappings from happening in the future, or at least try to reduce kidnappings in the future.
Gotcha.
In
Okay.
contrast to that, I have a question also about Methalion. What the fuck fucks up Methalion to make it look so different in Snake Eyes?
I so hoped that it was going to be Riz casting,
flood.
Causing a massive
Yeah.
I
flood.
wanted
was
to, but some
praying for
people
that.
wouldn't let me cause a flood and kill millions of people.
Some people.
Somebody.
But
Wouldn't let you.
Beardy, seriously, what happens to Methalion?
Okay, so the incongruency between the map for Snake Eyes and the map for Check Please. That's your question. Like that's the root of the question is
Yeah,
why
technically.
were these maps so different from each other? Are you ready? That's a good
No.
answer. Are you ready? So I made the map for Snake Eyes first. Okay,
Yes,
and I make the
obviously.
map. I put it in there. You see the map. It's Methalion. Blah blah blah. I describe the town. It's a place. Then I put that map in the Snake Eyes folder, and there it sits. And then when I go to put Methalion into Check Please, I open up the Check Please Maps folder, and I'm like, M, and it goes to something else. I'm like, that's weird. MY, and it just doesn't find Methalion. I'm like, that's weird. The map's gone. And I made a new map.
So what
Okay,
happened?
we'll have an actual reason now.
Look, you wanted the answer. There's the answer. I
No,
couldn't
no,
find the map, so I
want
made
you
another
to
one.
make up something for why it changes between
Right, right now you have 5
40
seconds.
years.
Oh,
I
shit.
think that there,
This is
yeah,
speed DMing.
the fact that this happens, though, this happened out of character, and thus creates the mystery and leaves room for some new lore in universe. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could have just said I can't tell you that.
I could have, but I'm here with that DM screen lowered to try to like
Right,
humble myself
fair.
before the players
Fair
here and
enough.
be like, I am capable of making mistakes. But in that, if you want a lore reason for the city changing, I'm gonna say it's probably because Sasho has become more and more influential as time has gone on, and she's begun to demand architectural changes to the city to start focusing on the things that she thinks is important, specifically blood sport and that kind of stuff.
I have bad
So-
memories.
So Sasho has spent some time and resources in Mythalion to basically rebuild a section of town into this big arena where eventually things happen there that I'm not going to reference now. But that's all now going to be in the past, interestingly enough.
That's true.
Yeah, so we're going to jump about 5 years ahead of Snake Eyes, or 10 years ahead of Snake Eyes.
It would be 5
Some-
because Jackie's
some-
too old for that.
Yeah, something in that.
When you say ahead of, do you mean, sorry, before or after Snake Eyes? After Snake Eyes?
After Snake Eyes.
Okay.
Yeah, so Snake Eyes will now be in the past.
Gotcha.
As of campaign 2.
Yeah. Campaign 2 is going to start,
Yeah.
I believe, in 808, I think is what I said. So, yeah. So the year 808 will be the start of campaign 2, and we're going to be starting in a spot that I haven't revealed yet. So,
What's the spot, Beardy?
I'm not talking about it yet.
I know, I had to do it.
This is the campaign 1
yeah.
checkpoint.
So
you're
a
right.
question from me then. The idea of the fourth era entering at the time of the rending, is that no longer canon?
Probably not canon anymore because
Okay.
time is kind of funky, and there's so many different ways to look at timelines and look at eras.
Oh yes.
Like each individual culture kind of has its own way of looking at time and looking back at the past. Certain cultures believe that time is an unbroken, perfect thing that has gone back from creation to now, which is going to be like Kentao. And then you have people who are like, they're basing their time scales on like revolutions and wars and disasters, and those are going to be like your people in say like Izmir, or people in like Vil at this point. Like this could very easily be a new era for Vil now that the Deadlands is gone. They could easily stamp a new thing on the calendar and start over with year 1. Done. This is now year 1. Deadlands are gone.
But
This
at
is a new
least
era.
for like a player / DM standpoint, the exact year is probably the most accurate way for us to look at it.
I don't know when you say exact year. What do you mean?
So it's going to be 808.
That's still someone's time scale.
Jesus
Um,
Christ, Beardy.
Look,
No,
time is
that's
complicated.
true, Kenny.
What
That's
you
just how it
want?
works.
Like, time is complicated.
No one
and-
is right about time.
I mean, there
Yeah.
is the absolute
Except us, I
year, but
guess.
that's
Yeah,
only...
there's AY, which again is like a calendar that no one in the universe actually
No.
uses.
That's just a wiki thing, but it's on our sweaters.
Yeah.
So
It's on the
That's-
it's on.
Because I asked Beardy before I made the hoodies, I'm like, is this correct? And he said, yep.
I mean, yeah, it's technically correct. Yes,
which is the best kind of correct.
very true. So yeah, I
So-
mean,
okay.
I don't know. I don't know the best way to answer that question.
No, so it's third era and fourth era is only according to so few people that it doesn't need to be mentioned. in the
Yeah,
wiki.
like it could be the 4th era for Vil, it could be the 7th era for Izmir, like it could be whatever. Like it's so many different places at the same time, and eras are kind of fidgety anyway, because someone like there could be a flood somewhere and that starts a new era. There could be a king that dies and that starts a new era. Like,
But for the sake of our
oftentimes-
campaigns, third era.
sure. Yeah, for the most part, until you guys go to some new culture group completely, and they're like, and you ask them what year it is, and they're like, well, it's year 17. They're like, it's 17. And they're like, what do you mean it's 17? It's 808. And they're like, fuck off. Get out of here. So-
Foreigner. No.
Yeah, I mean, it's the thing. Is like time scales are different between cultures.
This is
There's
our
not-
fourth king, so this is our fourth year.
Oh no. Someone tell the Parthenians how to count, please.
It is 808.
The seasons do not match when a year ends, it only ends when the king dies.
Oh no.
That's
Oh no.
Oh god.
that seems very
They are
confusing.
They are the most important person to us.
I'll get to work on the conversion calculator.
Yeah. How many kings to years and years to kings?
Oh god.
But yeah,
It's like
So-
dog years, king years.
I hope that somewhat answers that.
Thank you.
Would you guys like another fan question?
I have one on deck.
Yes.
I have my own question on deck, but yeah, fan question. Yep.
All right. Dancing Mop asks, I've always liked that there's no such thing as common in Adrian, but it does beg the question, what language were all the characters speaking? I know the honey made it kind of a moot point, but I'm just curious, did they in fact have one in common? I believe originally was Vil.
That's
Village and then Elvish.
I gotta say, I'm really impressed with these fan questions. Thank you, Mop. That is wonderful. Yeah, I think the common language ended up being Vil.
For season 1.
Yeah, and then
It was Vil, and it switched to Elven briefly.
yeah,
Actually,
Elven
I think
was
it
also
started out
pretty
with
common.
Elven. I think a few of us didn't actually speak Village. I'm pretty sure Levette didn't, because I just didn't know it was going to be important.
Oh, it definitely didn't start with Elvish because
No,
Vera was
Vera would
pretending
never
to
have-
be human.
That's true. All right, you're right. I know we all spoke Elvish by at least the time we were heading to this Steam Isle the first time.
This I don't remember, but it's been a hot minute since season 1. I mostly only remember exclusively using Vilish when we had the satyr in our group for a little bit.
Oh yes.
So what if you were a traveler in Obador? What would the single most useful language be to you?
Money.
Sylvan. That's what I learned as Soul.
What would get you the furthest? It actually is Sylvan?
No, that's just the one that helped me with Soul.
Okay.
Oh, we did all speak Sylvan. That was the other one I was trying to remember. At least by the end of season 1.
By the end, not in the beginning though.
No, that's why it was fucking pissed me off.
Okay, so if you could only learn one language in Adrian, and you want the language to get you the most mileage, right? That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tough one. That's a really tough one because it's a big setting. There's a lot of places. There's a lot of regional languages. Like, because I was very adamant that there is no common. That's such a cop out answer in other settings that I just think is so stupid. Because like every culture has their own language. That's just so absolutely ubiquitous with real life that how can you have a common language among all humans? That's ridiculous. So if I were to pick one, it would probably have to be a racial language of a non-human. So I'd say like maybe Elven would get you a lot of mileage because a lot of people are going to pick up Elven just because.
Yeah.
Sylvan's also a good choice. There's a lot of different racial groups that use Sylvan, like your centaurs, satyrs. They're both going to use Sylvan. But I don't think I would personally. I would probably. I'm debating actually between Elven or Saracen, because the Saracens are traders,
You're right.
and they go around and they have a lot of different inroads with a lot of different groups. So a lot of people tend to learn Saracen to trade with the Harpy. Now it's true that the Harpies learn other languages to trade with them as well, but it goes back and forth. So I would probably do Elven. If I had to pick one, it would be Elven. So that would just. I feel like that would be the most mileage.
But the question was for at least we know what season 1 we were using as like our most understood language for all the characters. But what
Mhm.
were we using before the honey for season 2?
So I've got it pulled up here. I've got the language block pulled up, and the common languages among the party were Elven and Sylvan. That's it. That's the only languages that everybody knew.
Oh,
Really?
What weird ones to know.
Yeah, because there were certain ones that were almost everybody, like Protean, except Vera didn't know Protean. Everyone else had Protean except Vera.
Didn't take her classes.
There's a couple more here. No, that's it. I mean, that's about it, really. Yeah.
And then what did we like after we took the honey? What were we speaking to other people? Just their language?
Yeah, for the most part.
Did
Just,
everyone hear us? Like, so if we were in a room with like the people from every country, would they all hear their own language?
Yeah. So the way the honey worked is that effectively everything you spoke would be understandable to anyone that heard your words. They would hear it
That's
as
why-
their home tongue.
When I was role playing as Riz, whenever people would try to be secretive with them, they would just be like, I literally can't respond to you. They will know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very awkward to be like, okay. And that's what a lot of people had to kind of experience with Honey too. You just kind of understood that like everyone can hear you. There's no hiding it.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're gonna translate. They still gotta hear you.
Yeah.
I appreciated that as a excuse me. I appreciated the honey as a game mechanic and kind of felt a little bit bad for not utilizing it. But at the same time, I kind of liked playing Curler as a linguist. I liked the fact that that was one of their kind of understated skills, was the fact that they were just good with languages. So it wasn't necessary for them, and also
It wasn't
very
necessary for me either. I still drank it.
much and
Me
well,
neither.
also very much in keeping with, yeah, they're not gonna drink the Kool-Aid.
It's from a
They've-
god. Fuck yeah, let's go.
They've done the
Chug,
cult
chug,
thing. They
chug.
can't do it again.
It's barely necessary for me. The first campaign I took Protean and Kintao because I looked at the wiki and thought these seem like the most widespread languages. I'll probably need
Mhm.
them. And yeah, we didn't need them right when they came into play.
Sorry.
I mean, I understand totally. We would have
Hey,
gone through that whole murder mystery, being like, I can't understand you.
You got to be the first people to visit both of those places, so that's cool. Like the 1st
Mhm.
players I've ever had in Adrian that went to Proto and went to the Kinto Empire.
And
That
lived.
was really, really fun.
And yeah,
I forget, because obviously you've had other campaigns in the setting, and one of them went into the Vale. Is that correct? And got like swarmed by weavers.
Oh yeah. Oh, the Weavers are right pain in the ass. Yeah. No, there was a group that's been fucked over by Weavers before, for sure.
We got fucked over by weavers.
Well, we should have gone and
Mhm.
fucking
Yeah.
fucked up the Weavers. That way we were still level 20.
Yeah, we should have firestormed that
Fuck.
fucking forest.
Yeah.
I
Just-
think you've
Just send Archie through, just cleaving through trees.
That's where Vera gets her conscripts and her money. We can't
Yeah.
fully take care of it.
Yeah. You gotta,
All right,
you gotta
we'll
be able
bring
to
them
get
down
your-
to a manageable population.
Yeah, you got to be able to send the Sisters of the Lesser in there for training purposes.
oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think that doesn't sound like they don't need that. I'm sure they can train with things that will
You don't
give
think
them
so?
fewer nightmares.
You know, I mean, I think it'd be kind of cool. Let's send the Sisters of the Lesser in, have them, tussle it up with some Weavers, and
like
the
I'm
ones
not saying
that
it
don't,
wouldn't do the job. I just
the ones that don't get implanted with eggs get promoted. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
What do we do with the and Vera? What do we do with the ones that get implanted with eggs?
Yes, giant mosquito, you are correct. That they were a hell of a thing. That is one of the players that was there for that. Is actually in chat.
Oh, the
my
OG
God.
beginning of what was
Of
the
the
tools
Weavers, yeah.
to start. Check, please.
Yeah, well, one of the wonderful little bits and bobs that I've got to pepper in the setting.
You also had run, I think, the Telek House campaign you had done as a one shot.
I had ran the Telek House as a starter to a campaign, I believe, 3 times.
And we did it perfectly.
You were the only ones to make it through without having to restart. Yes.
It's because I threw the key to Soul.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Although
that
it
is
would have
why
been
I
out of
threw
the
Oh,
it.
that would have been
Wow.
so. I was so looking forward to have Vera playing that character.
I'm so
being the
glad.
missing Telek child. Oh, that would have been so good.
I am so glad we didn't, because I wasn't ready for role playing Vera like I do now at that point in the
That's
story.
fair.
And I was ready right away with Soul, I think.
Oh yeah, it was such a great scene for Soul.
Yeah, it worked out
Just
really well.
Immediately like, oh fuck, I have to do what I'm used to doing. Fuck. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, you have to put on this wonderful, noble face and pretend everything's fine, even though you all pretty much know that these people are ghosts. So that's fun. I think it's an interesting situation to put players into.
Speaking of things that aren't alive, what happened to Mark II?
I was gonna say we didn't get a end scene for Mark II.
I cannot self-terminate.
So
Madame.
Boy.
Bye.
I suppose we can look at this from 2 different ways. Either Mark II finds out about the vets or is contacted by Levette at some point in those 8 years and is tracked down and is invited to be among those given a soul. and becomes a full-fledged person, becomes one of the first vets, and then goes off and either returns to the Merry Valley, or for the first time in their life can make their own decision about something, and then they decide to go off and live their own life rather than trying to live the life of someone that they aren't. So it's up to them at that point. They actually would have true free will for the first time in their life, and they could self-determine where they wanted to go. And that's possibility number one. Possibility number two, it's certainly possible that Marcus stubbed his toe too hard, or fell into a ditch, or any number of unnice things could have led to his demise and defuncting and disappearance. So it's difficult to say exactly which of those paths he went down.
And we're back. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah. Where was I?
So he could have gone. He could have died off in a ditch, or he went off to the vets and went out for a carton of milk.
Yeah.
Or he came back. I mean,
I was.
That's his
See,
choice.
that's where I was. That's the thing. He could have come back or went out. Yeah,
Sure.
and
He went out to get cigarettes.
and I feel. I mean, yeah, he probably would have not defaulted. He probably would have come back. In my head, at least.
Possibly. I mean, that's something that I'm not willing to speak to definitively.
I like it. Okay.
At this point, so that's going to be just kind of a thing that I'm willing to leave up in the air.
Yay! I like that. I like that.
So yeah, I mean, it's how you look. It's how you want to look at it, I guess. I feel like it's very possible that he has a real choice to make, and we'll see where that goes.
Well, I have another question. And this is pertaining to something that I think several of us have probably considered, or at least wondered. What truly happened with the slime village, and what was the right answer in your mind?
That was my next question.
Okay, so the slime village, that was a wonderful little side quest that I came up with, and I wanted all of my side quests to be morally gray. I wanted there to be no right answer. I wanted it to present some information, a situation, a scenario, if you will, of something that has happened, people acting on what they thought was the right thing to do at the time, and then have you guys kind of stumble into it after it's already dealt with and over with, and you can see the results of those decisions, and you guys could make your own minds up about whether or not this was a good thing to do or a bad thing to do. And yeah, I didn't have any skin in the game. Like, I just wanted to make something that was morally ambiguous. So I didn't want to make it leaning any which direction. Like, I wanted it to be as kind of middle of the road as possible in how I presented it, because I didn't want to influence you guys one way or the other with how to feel about it. You guys went pretty hard in one direction as far as how you felt about it.
Don't like being locked in on that one, but sure.
Well,
Most
I
of the
wanted
party.
to kill them all.
Who was the one? Who was the one that screamed the guy to death? Well, I thought it was Levette.
I don't think
All
so.
of us?
There were like
I was-
two of us, and one of them was definitely.
No, because I was doing the whole Watchmen thing of without condemning or condoning. I understand.
I understand why you did this. Yeah.
I think it was Petravian and Kurla.
Mm-hmm.
I went in.
sounds about right.
I didn't scream at them. That was not Petravian.
I think you might have scowled the man to death.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, he died. So
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, he's dead now.
If
so
I
who
He's
recall,
dead
you
cares?
now,
said
who
they had
cares?
4 rounds, and then he was gonna die.
Yeah,
But-
I mean, kinda. Yeah, he was on his deathbed. He was dying, and he just was there to like basically be the final point where you guys were gonna say, "I understand why you did this," or "Fuck you, you crazy old man. How
But
dare you?"
also, fuck him because he didn't do the same thing to himself that he did to the villagers.
That's true. He didn't Professor Hyde this, or Dr. Jackal this, and which is very disappointing. You should always test on yourself first. It's the most moral option.
Yeah. So he lacked I guess you could say he lacked the courage to do it to himself. So that
Didn't
might
do
be
it to
telling
him.
us. So that might be pretty telling of his moral stance on the whole thing.
Mhm.
But yet he was willing to do it to the rest of the town. So, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying he's a good guy. I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm saying he made a decision that he thought was right at the time.
I'm just saying
I'm
he's a
just-
guy, an old guy that we shouted
Yeah.
to death.
That you
I'm
shouted to death.
I'm just saying we're on Reddit right now and YTA. That's all I can
That's
say.
fine.
Yep.
Like, look, and that's the consensus I got from the group. Barring Levette, obviously, Levette was
Ambivalent.
NTA, I think.
I feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Levette. I feel like Levette was flip flopping the entire time between.
No, what I
both
said, I
sides.
think without condoning or condemning,
Yeah.
I understand.
So I
She
mean,
was-
I get it.
her
Dude.
position was like, well, that sucks, but I really have no position to be judging you right now,
Mhm.
so I'm gonna
And-
stand in the back.
And the short answer to the whole question is there is no right answer. There was no right answer to that situation. There was never meant to be a right answer to that situation. It was just meant to be a thought-provoking, morally gray thought experiment that I wanted you
The-
guys to go through and see what you thought.
The right answer would have been to crush Plu. Just turn him into a puddle.
Speaking of,
No,
Speaking
no.
of-
And-
We haven't gotten an answer of like what the fuck happened with the fucking village first.
they
Oh,
went
okay.
on to live a normal life. yeah.
So the person who went to watch the village, literally nothing bad happened to that person.
Nothing bad happened to that person. They reported that the village was normal. The intelligence services from Daraham kept tabs on it for like the next couple of years. Just here and there, they would send people, like just kind of consistently to go through the place to see if anything was weird about it. Because basically, what had happened is those slimes, when they assume the body of someone's, like when they totally assume their form, like we're talking down to like genetic level, their cells have now become the cells of that person. They don't have the ability to turn back into a slime. Like they're set now in that form. So they went on and they reproduced and they had kids and they intermarried with other groups and they lived their lives as humans would. And that was
Yeah.
the end of them. They
So
just,
they're basically face dancers.
I mean, I don't know what that means exactly, but whatever.
Oh, sorry. Well, Dune, but
Ugh.
way
So did-
later on in the series, Dune.
I only read
so,
the first book.
Gotcha.
So did they have souls?
I mean, of all the
Yeah,
people that
this-
asked that, I think that you would realize that question doesn't matter as much as you think
Right?
it should.
Yep, that's true.
It's like,
Also,
my retort is, does it matter?
were
does that
any
make
of
them-
the were any of the magical items in the town any good? I know there was a belt or something from an adventure in there.
If you guys had decided to kill the town and murder everybody,
Mhm.
there
Can I
were
say
some
I'm
magic
glad we
items in the
left
town
up
you
into
could have
that?
looted, and there was a retired adventure, and it was like +2 gear. I mean, it was okay. It would have been worth some money to sell, but it's not like be all end all stuff. It was like basically it was a retired mid-leg adventurer. Lived in the town.
For one, I'm glad we did not murder that town full of innocent people and sell
I'm
them
also
Yeah.
glad you didn't murder the town. I'm quite glad you didn't murder the town. It would have
it
been
was
very
me. I'm
upsetting.
the murderer.
You get to murder innocent people later. It's
Ooh,
fine.
you
That's
bet I
true.
did.
With
That reminds me
the
of a question I have about that.
so
It-
we moved. So we left the town.
Yeah.
And I brought Plu.
Yes.
What has happened to Plu?
Well, you forgot about Plu.
I forgot about Plu, and then
And
he
and
ended
then
up with
you were
Chisel.
arrested at the border
Yep.
to get into Proto, or
Yep.
the Protean Empire, rather. And when you were arrested at the border, they seized your stuff.
Yep.
Plu, at that point, escaped from your stuff and was puttering around that town, kind of like doing what slimes do.
Mhm.
So if you had
What do
ever,
slimes do?
yeah, exactly. If you had ever gone back to that town, you might have been able to find Plu. But at this point, Plu has gone on to live a full life and do whatever it is that Plu is going to do when left to their own device.
Well, if it's a
Um,
slime, and I've seen enough anime and video games to know that its lifetime is not very long.
It doesn't got a lot of time because it's
No.
probably got 1 hit point, and some like
Of a cheese
low-
it.
low level adventure is going to find it and kill it and get that 30 points of experience that it needs.
All
So-
I remember is you mentioned that Chisel was chasing down Plu and went over a waterfall and splooshed down. And that's all.
Yeah.
That's the last I know of Plu.
So I will say that Petra probably never ran across Plu again.
That's
Uh,
not surprising.
Yeah, they probably never crossed paths again, and Plu went off to live whatever life a slime lives.
He was
Talking
busy.
booger.
He was busy growing his plant beard.
Yeah, that's true.
Grooming it constantly. Well, actually, it wouldn't be groom. It'd be pruning it,
No, you just need a
cultivating it.
you need a Petravian chia pet.
Yep.
I have
Yeah.
on the whole murdering people thing. I actually have a question for you, Kenny, about Riz. So, the murdering took place in, I can't remember which city it was. No, and it was the Pentress Estates.
Mhm.
And then you...
Good place for murder.
Yes, good place for murder. You kill off, the 15 people. Curler finds out. You tell Curler, and the question that I had that Curler had to you was it worth it? And Riz's response was no. Now, Curler asking that and Riz responding to that, I'm curious if they were on the same page communication-wise, or if Riz was answering a different question than Curler intended.
Okay.
Because Curler is asking, was it worth it morally? As in, was it worth it to kill these people?
No.
And Riz was Riz answering from the, well, no, it wasn't worth it because I didn't get what I want from it.
They thought it wasn't worth killing people for such a shitty answer.
So yeah, Curler was asking from a moral standpoint, and Riz was responding from a
Well, I mean,
pragmatic
it's kind
standpoint.
of morally. Because they're like, I don't like that I killed that many people. Normally it's just like a couple here or there.
It would have been fine had I had a better answer.
I mean, technically, it would have been better.
True. Had I gotten a really like succinct, great answer, Riz would have been like, yeah.
Like if it gave Risen the answer to solve everything, then I think be like, yeah, okay, you know what?
Yeah, I was I was like 99% sure that's exactly how it went down, but at the same time, I didn't want to push it in character because I was fucking sick and tired of them being at odds with each other. So, Curler heard what Curler wanted to hear in that moment.
I mean, like, as a player, do you see an issue in their reasoning for that?
I, as a player, no, it makes perfect sense for Riz.
Okay.
No. It makes absolute sense for Riz, and you couldn't have played them any other way in that moment. No, I like that there was that disconnect, but that there was the disconnect in character. I think it speaks to how things changed between them, and also the fact that Curler didn't push that and determined that actually that wasn't what Riz had meant, and oh fuck, this is not a good I think that worked out perfectly. I think that worked out beautifully. The ambiguity there, and I didn't want to address that ambiguity until the end of the campaign. So yay, now I know that I was right about that. But no, as a player, that was a great moment. I thought I liked that conversation.
Yep. They were distressed because they're like, man, I feel guilty about killing these people. Mostly because, like, killing that many, it's just a lot. Like, maybe a couple here or there for the sacrifices that I need to do for the gods, but, like, otherwise, it's a bit much for a shitty answer. Fess? Wait, no. Terrace? You both start with T's, sorry.
Well, I mean, Terrace doesn't really give a shit
Oh, I
about
know.
the
He's
sanctity of life.
he's the
So, like,
worst, and I love him.
he does not care, and it's like you could have killed 100 people, and it would have been like only marginally better for
I
Terrace.
fucking hate the tone you use with Terrace.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
go ahead. How does it sound? You tell me.
I can't. Well, I'd say it's a weak spot, and I hate it.
Ah, okay.
And I'm like, God damn it! Why you gotta talk like that, Beardy?
So, I got a question. The sea monster.
Ooh,
Oh fucking goddamn!
Yeah.
Fucking sea
Season
monster.
1.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What happened? We saw it for a second and then it didn't come.
Yeah. So, I'm
Holy
having
shit! I
trouble remembering the sequence of
Let me
events that led
set
up
the
to that.
scene. We're on a boat on
Yeah.
our way to Daraham.
Yeah.
We literally go to sleep in this fucking boat. Sol has just told Marcus that like they might have feelings for him, and Marcus immediately goes, "I love you," without like
Oh
any
my
of
God.
that, like being like,
Thank
"Oh,
you.
I might like you too. Let's see where that
Nope.
goes."
Thank you.
Straight into
Thank you.
I love you, and I've
Yeah,
always
thank
loved you,
you.
and no one will
Thank
love you
you.
as much as I do. I
Yes,
remember that
we are
scene
moving
now.
back onto the sea monster.
I remember that scene now. Is that
Right
and
after it.
I'm gonna
I
drink
love
you in
you.
all night.
I've always loved you, and your fiance can
Mhm.
never love you as much
Mhm.
as I love you.
Yeah, that was spa.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty sure.
That was at the
yeah,
spa.
that first part
different
was that last
scene.
part was at the spa.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
But
sorry.
Well, thank you for
After
that.
that-
Yes.
there was like kind of a weird feeling of a shudder on the boat. Sol goes
Yeah.
up and there's something in the water, so they throw down some dancing lights into the water to see what's there, and we
Yeah.
see some kind of giant tentacles, and suddenly our sailors are dying and everyone has to come up and have a giant kraken fight. And the
Yeah.
sentence you used was, you feel as though someone is watching you before this
Yes.
thing appears.
Right.
What the fuck is happening?
So partly is the idea that you just could sense that this kraken was stalking the boat, or this large aquatic predator was stalking your boat. Now you might say maybe this thing was somehow being controlled by Glarv and was tracking your guys' movements. Maybe not. Maybe it's just a regular predator in the ocean that just decided that this boat would be easy pickings. I'll leave that up to you. But there isn't really an answer that had any kind of like major underpinnings in my mind about it. It was just kind of a random encounter.
Just the air encounter
Because
didn't
it-
really happen.
Well, because didn't it start attacking and then it just left?
Yeah. I think it left because we were either running low on time in the session or
We were
Something
dying.
else. something else happened. I think I was falling asleep maybe.
I believe
Is that it?
We did
I-
play
I-
till like early hours in the morning back
Yeah,
in the day.
I forget
Yeah,
what
we
the
played really
specific
long fucking
reason was,
sessions.
but basically we kind of just ran out of time, I think, and I was just like, okay, it leaves. Like again, I'm only human, okay?
That's not good enough.
I know I need to be like a sentient cloud or something, or a
Me
robot.
too.
Or a
But
cyborg.
a cyborg, that would work too.
Speaking
Yeah.
of robots, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Archie,
Yes.
did he ever regain any of his memories, or did he start from scratch again? You can't tell us?
Are you ready? Are you ready for the answer?
Not really.
I mean, if you don't
I
want to
can't
know,
tell you yet.
Grem, then we
Oh,
can.
okay. That's
Yay!
honestly
Can't tell us.
a better answer.
I can't tell you yet. That's the
Wow,
answer.
I don't put those stressful thoughts in my fucking head. Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Oh, what do you mean? You forgot everything? No.
No, so like what we saw from the ending credits is that Archie was the first one to be imbued with the soul by the mother device, and then after that worked with Moira and the first generation vets to kind of move the device somewhere secret, and basically set up a little sanctum, a little conclave, a little secret place where they could hide and create the society of their own. And they're currently still in secret. Like they haven't really revealed too much about themselves other than that they exist. They did come by boat to the Free States. So the ambassadors came by boat to the Free States to announce that they exist. But I will say that by the year 808, they are rare. They are still considered myth by a lot of people. A lot of people don't believe they exist at all. And the people that do believe they exist believe that a lot of them at least, believe that they are very dangerous and should be killed on sight. So
I'm like, good. That don't believe they exist. Just ignore them.
yeah,
Stay away.
so they're a very, very young race, and a lot of people are very mistrusting of new things, and particularly things that are very alien to them and are also new. So it's like, oh, these are robots that can look like people, and they can
Well,
pass themselves off as people, and they're dangerous because of that. So they're
if
obviously
we've learned anything from the changelings, it's that
I was
everyone
gonna
reacts to
say,
that just fine.
right. That's gonna work
they'll
out
take
fine,
that
right?
fine.
The changelings who nearly were extincted because of their ability to look like other people. Again, blame the high elves.
Yep.
I always
Yeah.
do.
Yep.
Yeah, if I can't help it, I would try to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Follow up. How are you spelling vets for the wiki?
Vet is VETTE.
That's what I thought, but now I know for
And
certain. Thank you.
they are can be added to the race page eventually. But as all the rules for playable races go, there are specific population requirements for them to be a playable race, and they have not met that yet. So they are not playable in campaign 2, but if they continue to survive and thrive, they will probably be playable for campaign 3 and beyond. So that's a thing you might want to keep in mind if you want to play a vet character in season.
They're gonna fucking survive, you bet. If this team wants to become a super dangerous place, it will.
Watch the whole
Yeah.
like arc of campaign 2 being us
hunting them down and killing
hunting them
all.
down and destroying them.
Hell
we,
yeah.
How
we must
long-
wipe out the
the final boss fight is you guys destroying the mother device. Holy
How
shit.
long in the tube does Levette as a entity, their themselves, like their sense of self, how long before that goes away, or are they still sentient?
Yeah,
in
so
there?
there's a lot of assumptions being
So
made.
there's a lot
there.
of assumptions, yeah. Okay, so firstly, I guess the answer to that is that it's 0 seconds.
Gotcha.
I suppose is the answer I would say to that. Like, how
Okay.
long until Levette is not Levette anymore? It's like it's immediate. Levette is immediately melded into this thing, and is no longer the same person.
Gotcha.
They like
6 minutes, 13.43 seconds.
right, like
Yeah. Just
I don't even-
take the
like-
hook up of the.
yeah, like I don't even know if Levette would resist that necessarily. Like it's just a new
No.
part of their. It's the next phase of their existence.
They're
Yeah.
instantly from Levette to the Master from Fallout 1.
Yeah, pretty much.
Does it dream, Beardy?
Mother
what?
does dream. Yes,
So this being that becomes
Mother dreams of a world in which the vets can live in peace.
Oh, I thought you were going to make a Blade Runner.
Mother dreams of a world in which the vets are treated equally and with respect by other races.
Does Mother
Um,
dream in the same way that other creatures dream?
Probably not.
So not a way that would be accessible for anyone who, say, could enter other people's
Well,
dreams.
we talked about a little bit
Yeah,
behind the
I
scenes that
I
there's kind of the case, but
Yeah, I think that there's a possibility for that. I think that you could definitely come up with some means to do such a thing. Yeah.
Does Mother straight up talk?
No.
Okay. Because my follow question was, does it still have Levette's accent?
well, the obvious answer to that is what accent?
Yeah. What accent? There's no accent. Stop talking about accents. But no.
But they do. Mother does communicate though.
Not exactly.
Okay.
Not in so
Yeah,
many words.
emissaries.
Which I realize is going to be difficult for Skrewy. Skrewy, you really like
You
direct
really like
verbal
when your gods
communication.
talk to you. That's why.
You really
Don't worry. That's why she's got emissaries. You just need to talk to Moira.
Yeah. Talk to Moira. Talk to Archie. They're going to interpret Mother's will. It's fine.
Oh yeah,
can
no.
just
I
see
didn't know.
Mark
I didn't
II.
know if Mother was sitting there and Like
I mean,
big
you saw the
friggin' computer or
machine.
something.
You saw the machine that
Yeah.
Levette was in.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
Mother.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep. I know. I
That's
just
it.
didn't know if it also had the ability to communicate.
No,
Mr.
with-
House style.
no. So it's not like it's not like the Emperor text to
Gunhead.
speech.
Grem, I have
Yeah.
a question for you. And
Okay.
sorry, it's putting you on the spot here. What would Levette's final words have been before merging with this
Ooh.
machine consciousness? and,
Final
you know-
words? No fucking idea. Honestly, probably something stupidly trivial. No, probably saying I love you tomorrow.
Aw.
Like as far as last words, yeah.
Nice.
I think
Uh.
I'm willing to say that when Moira, fake Moira,
Mhm.
got an actual soul,
Mhm.
I believe that given free will and the opportunity to choose for the first time and be an actual person,
Mhm.
I think that she would probably say that she loved you too. Yeah, I think that would be her first words as a person. Actually, so there you go.
I did have some thoughts about like tenants and stuff that she would leave behind for the vet before making them.
Mm-hmm.
But that stuff I might go into detail
Yeah.
with Beardy behind
Yeah,
scenes.
send me the tenants.
Levette's
Fun.
She
rules
got some
of
like
robotics.
Asimov-esque rules.
Yeah.
For, like, to
Oh,
follow.
yes. Yeah, we'll do that. That'll be the basis of their religion. I love
Mhm.
it. Fuck.
Thou shalt not allow.
Oh no, I
Humans
Beardy,
to
I think
come
you're
to
gonna like
harm.
these rules
Yes.
too.
Oh, they'll be fun. They'll be fun.
I have a question that pertains to campaign 1, and I don't know if you'll remember it or not.
You mean
This
season
is all
1?
pertaining to campaign 1.
Yes, season 1.
Yes. Season 1.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got?
So when we went to Ostrovik, right? The
Yes.
one by the lake. Oh, we went
Yes.
to Ostrovik. We did
Oh,
all
the one
the
by the
egg
lake.
stuff. We did all that.
Where Billy Bass happened.
Billy Bass,
Yeah.
yes.
That was the
When-
most monumental event.
When we were there, Vera saw a shady figure in a hood. And I want to know if you remember who that was supposed to be.
It was supposed to be Barin.
Really?
Yeah.
No
But-
shit.
Yeah. So if you had pursued that, there was a whole thing at the time where it's like, oh, there's somebody out here that's murdering nobles in the woods.
Mhm.
Like there's somebody out here who's like basically pulling a Robin Hood around Ostrovik. Had you pursued that, it was going to be Barin. Because you didn't pursue that, I got to take that piece off the board and put it somewhere else. So
Nice.
who it is now is definitely not Barin. It's someone
Well,
else.
Oh, yeah, that's good
Um,
because that wouldn't really work for Bowren.
Right. And I'm glad it worked out the way it did. So,
I actually was expecting that it was. Hold on one sec.
Nessus parrots.
I thought it was Faye Loarick, who is one of the characters in my backstory.
I mean,
which-
you know what? I think it is now.
Which actually brings me to my next question, which is for everybody. Is there any parts of your backstories that didn't come up that you want to talk about?
Yes.
That I want to talk about, maybe that people want to hear about, probably not. So
I
many
wanna
little
hear it.
details.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I don't know what didn't come up. I'll have to think about it. Someone else go first.
So with Karis, I wanted you guys to just like get so invested in this character that you would just like, spend the whole time being like, "Oh man, Karis, you're so cool. We want to be your friend." And I mean, it kind of worked
We
out.
did.
We did, yeah.
We did.
Except the issue was we kept begging for more scenes of Karis doing things, and you were like, I don't want to take up the scene. And we're like, please.
That's
Please give
I
her
even
more
did the ear
scenes.
thing. That's right. I tucked my hair behind my ear when I said it, just like that. That was really accurate rendition
True.
of me. Thank you.
Sure, I saw it.
I personally do not have anything from my backstories. One was an amnesiac backstory, so it's not like I have much there. But I think all of Souls was pretty much covered in season 1, so I don't really have to worry about it. So I'm good. My shit came up in game.
Thank you, GM.
I did have one. Was the Petravian's halfling friend?
Yeah, I was gonna
Which-
ask. That's my question about you. What the fuck is that leading to?
God.
Are you guys gay
I
lovers?
was
Oh my God.
No, it was just going to be. I hoped that they would that they would have been used to this is as a for example.
That sentence needs
Um,
finishing.
As a for example, that he the halfling character would have been so angered by by Proda, he would have basically become a bandit, or not a bandit, but like he would basically murder in Proda constantly.
You want to hear a
I-
fun thing about your
what-
character's about your backstory
Yeah,
about Petravians?
yeah.
It's about your parents.
All right.
What's up?
Yes.
I can tell you now.
It's the truth. It's finally the truth. Beardy, tell us. Beardy, tell us.
The
Yes.
curtain's down. I'll go ahead and tell you. So Petravian's parents. See, the modern term would be terrorist, but I feel like maybe like political dissident slash freedom fighter would be maybe a more generous
Revolutionary?
term for them. Revolutionaries. They were definitely like anti-establishment, anti-Protean folks. Like your
Damn,
father
Petra.
and mother
Petra's
organized
so
and
cool.
carried out multiple attacks against the Protean state and tried to like do things from like destroying aqueducts to like poisoning towns to like burning buildings down.
The
like
parents.
they were politically active dissidents that were
And what were his adopted parents?
his adopted parent was was like effectively like
Yeah,
a high-ranking military official.
Yep, and
Oh, I
he
thought one
d-
of them was cultists for Marcus.
Oh. That secret. Okay. So
what?
Yeah,
so
kinda
your
keep going
so
with
your
that one.
birth parent, yeah, take a breath there. So your birth parents were political terrorist dissidents that attacked the Protean state, and your adopted parents
So really cool.
Yeah.
turns out they were part of a cult within Protean society that believed that the return of Marcus would bring about a return to old school Protean values and save them from like basically the social changes that they thought were ruining their society.
This explains so much about Petra.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So there's
I love-
that. There
And Curler helped you talk to them. Fuck.
And they lied
Oh,
through their
no.
teeth.
they
because
lied
you,
the whole time.
You didn't
Yeah.
ask.
Bastards.
You didn't fucking like check them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were they were cultists that believed that Marcus's return would cleanse the state and that putting Marcus in charge of Proda would effectively like save the society because they were very much like old guard conservatives that were like very much against this thing they
So-
saw as like social degradation because they saw like the Faustuses and they're like this is ruining our society that we have these fucks that just do nothing but pour chocolate on themselves and eat and it's like and then like that's as one example but there's lots but the idea is that they saw this like departure from like the to use the proper Roman term this departure from the virtus that they wanted in their society and they saw that change toward men wearing foreign clothing and people going to plays and people wearing makeup. And it's like all these things that they thought were like eroding at what made Proda like the greatest city on earth in their minds, which was just this strong like masculine power. And they're like, oh, we need someone to come and like sweep us back. They were effectively fascists. So they wanted they wanted this
God.
authoritarian figure from the past to literally come back to life and save them from the degradation of that their society
So
has faced.
your birth parents were super cool, and your adopted parents were the least cool people imaginable. Is what we're
But there was
getting out of
nothing
this.
But there was
Well, I mean,
but there was nothing.
when the guy's like a high-ranking military general, yeah, he's a fascist. What do you think?
Yeah,
Come
but
on.
he did.
Of course, he's an authoritarian. He's the authority.
I didn't think to check because
Yeah,
well,
Mhm.
because
I
why
mean,
would you, right?
Isn't
No,
it
it
better
explains so
that
much
he's
about
dead.
Petra.
He's deady. Why
isn't
would you
it
check?
better
He's
for
deady.
Petravian to believe this? That it's like,
Yeah.
oh, my parents were good. Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Isn't that the
Yeah.
best outcome?
Petra
Yeah.
gets to die believing his parents are good, and he served Eden.
Yeah, if Petra
Yeah.
had learned this in campaign, it would have like destroyed him. I would have
Yeah,
thought.
and we don't need to do that. Petra's so good at that himself.
Speaking of Petra, I was
I-
given the okay to do something with Soul if something happened to Vera, and I believe
I
I
do
s-
want to take a step back real quick because
Oh,
I had
what's
the
up?
Corbeas question. I had that same thing, and you
What's
answered
this
it. Except I have no idea what your answer meant.
I still had
Someone went
answers
around
to.
murdering something.
I
is
still
your
had
answer
answers to
about
Xeno's
Corbeas.
question.
Yeah,
That too.
Completely missed me mine.
Okay, start from wherever we need to start. Xeno's question, what was that?
Yeah, that was where it got it
Let's
started.
continue with Grem was finishing Skrewy's.
Yeah, so because you brought up what when we were asking, like, does anyone have any lore stuff that we didn't bring up, and you started talking about Corveas, and you said someone went around the wild murdering. So what was the whole thing with that? Who the fuck is Corveas, and what was that? What did that mean? Like, where were you going with that?
Skrewy?
Like, was it just the one story about he was your halfling friend, or was there?
yeah,
really
that was
going
basically
somewhere?
it. He was going to be the. I just figured I was hoping he was alive, and I would try to reconnect with him. My hope to that would be that he either was completely disillusioned with.
So there wasn't going to be like any secret into their past or any plans
No.
for anything like that. It was just
No.
you're just like Petra needs to have known a halfling.
Yeah.
I interpreted
Yeah.
Corveas as just being his imaginary friend.
I love that much. Okay. I actually really love that.
I kind of
way
did
better.
too, except that the idea that his imaginary friend is a halfling, and like he likes halflings because of that, just like kind of it just
That
kind
would've-
of destroyed me.
It's
I
a
can't
self-fulfilling
handle that. That's just-
prophecy. It's perfect.
That would have
He's just
destroyed
arbitrary.
him.
That's completely
Yeah.
fucking arbitrary.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh
It's
That's
like-
man, could you?
But that's so perfectly Petra, right?
But he's like, my best friend was a Wolverine. Wolverines love me. You put me in a room with a Wolverine, and they'll snuggle right up to me.
Holy shit. Okay. So his parents were fascists. His best friend was imaginary. Holy
And his birth
shit.
parents were terrorists.
The attack on the halflings never even happened.
It was a Fight Club scenario.
It was a government psyop.
Good God. If all of this came out, holy shit, could you imagine?
Petra
The
was like
people in the
Manchurian
Eden-
candidate. He could have been activated.
The people in the Eden Church taught you wrong as a joke.
Yeah, they gave you the squeaky shoes.
Oh god, that's terrible.
But hey, Petra had a pretty good ending.
That's true.
The best ending.
I mean, I don't know about that.
Well-
That got to become a machine, so that's
The
pretty
rear ending
Yeah, it's
from
pretty
Hummel.
good.
Huh.
She gets
I'm
to.
gonna-
She got to
What you got there, Kenny?
Well, I'm wondering if Xeno wants their question to be answered first.
yeah. I have an answer.
I mean,
for that,
are we
too.
not going to come back to it if we don't?
What
we'll
is
come back
what
to it.
is it though? I literally don't remember.
It was the backstory thing. The things that have
If
not
anyone's
come.
got any backstory info,
no,
we don't
it's
know.
totally gonna come back to it. I just wanted to make a note because we were talking about Petravian.
Okay.
So my note is that I discussed this with Beardy several times. That before this happened, I said, if for some reason Petravian ever gets Vera pregnant, for some reason, Soul is going to curse him
Oh.
with impotence.
Damn, son.
Sorry, accidentally gets Vera or deliberately?
Just
Or
in general.
For any
Sure,
reason.
in general,
Second
for any-
time they had sex.
for any reason.
Any reason was the wording there, yeah.
Yeah. That tracks. Okay. Fair enough.
Everything about Petra is rock hard, except
I was like, he probably won't go for like trying to force Vera into having a kid. So it's not like I have to worry. He'll probably have like sex like once before this body is built that Vera's making. So it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. I don't have to really worry about what the fuck.
I mean, I guess the question is, how strong are Soul's curses? Can they be removed with a remove curse spell? Like,
True.
because like Petra has a lot of resources as a level 20 paladin. Petra's got a lot of friends. Knows somebody that can cast miracle. I mean, it's possible that while this may or may not have happened, Petravian would have resources to overcome it. That's all I'm saying.
I'm sorry, you want me to talk to Veluna so you can get it up again? Is that what you're asking me?
I mean, I'm
Fucking
exploring
hellfire.
other options, but
I see this where they
somebody
go through
told
this
me
whole
to
conversation.
discover my prostate. I don't know.
Petra gets this cured, this curse cured, leaves the building. Soul is like, "What the fuck? You cured the curse? You're not supposed to do that." And he's like, "Oh god!" It goes back in. Is like, "Curl, can you curse me again?"
Curler just kicks him in the... That's the best I can do, mate. Actually, I think I did have bestow curse, but this is why it's hard to love you, mate.
So I'll leave the what actually happens to Petravian up to everyone's individual imagination.
Definitely cursed.
At least when it comes to his dick, we'll leave that to people's imagination.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
Hammer.
I don't think we need a canon answer for that.
Mm-mm. It's fine. Just leave it. The imagination can be way worse than reality.
Besides,
there
it's not
goes
really
gravity.
a cannon, it's more of a derringer. Which is a very small gun. It was a
Yes,
If you
yes,
say
yes,
so,
yes,
I don't
yes.
know. He's like a 9 foot tall Oriad. I don't know if Darren. I mean,
He's 9
it's
feet
the
tall.
physics involved. It's just gonna be
That's when.
what?
9 feet.
He's
Well,
only
I don't know, he's-
7.
Fucking
Yeah.
huge. Whatever.
Yeah.
7 foot, 9 foot, same difference. He's giant.
Tall people.
Yeah, fucking
I
tall.
mean, because
understand.
it was such a big deal to him that he was so much taller than Levette season 1.
That's true. Flick
You
Levette.
realize that Petravian's like 7 feet tall, and everyone's over here like, what does height matter?
Mhm.
Is that a
Yeah,
measure of
he's-
power that we're not familiar with?
Yeah, we're just gonna wave at that.
I think there is a height breakdown on the wiki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're adding height charts to the race pages, so we're getting there. Thank you, Kenny.
Working
Thank
on
you,
it.
Kenny. You rock.
Now, Xeno, did you have something about Vera you'd like to spill the dice about?
Well, I did have the basically extended family Vera had growing up in Ostrovik, because I don't even remember if obviously Vera was really nervous going to Ostrovik, but she lived there for 9 years,
Mm-hmm.
and she had basically a family of the people that her father worked with, which was called the Golden Talon, if I recall.
Yeah,
which
sounds
is
right.
what
Yeah.
what I have a necklace of.
Yeah.
And they're basically thieves that go around robbing other places that they don't reside in. So if
Mhm.
so mostly they didn't do any robbing in Ville because most of them lived there. So they
Yeah.
go to like like Parthenay and stuff for bigger heists
Sure.
and basically do that. But I had let's see. There's a tiefling called Efka, who Vera used to call as Aunt Effie. We had a young wizard who was like this hipster guy who just got out of like wizard college, basically. Gin Livson was a halfling male who was the other half of the leadership of the Golden Talons. Cormac was the other one. Her father was the other leader, and that's where Vera's self-hatred came from, was because he didn't like halfling or half-elves. And then Faye Lorik, who was a wood elf who always wore cloaks. Did like mercenary work, especially taking care of the Great Vale issues with weavers. And then Jarrus, who was just some like dude bro human fighter. Yeah.
Nice.
Very cool.
I didn't realize that extended families were considered some backstory stuff. I actually gave Beardy family trees for Levette's whole family and the whole Omoris family
Yeah.
at the beginning of the campaign.
I mean,
Oh.
I can put those on the wiki. I'm not going to
They're
create
ugly as
character
hell, and
pages
also,
for all of them,
I
but I can
didn't-
do a
I
tree.
used like a generator for it, and I didn't realize I had forgotten to fill in a few. So Levette has some aunts and uncles that are named things like son of Desmond and mother of whatever, I don't know.
Oh, right. Also, a part of Vera's hatred for blood family and stuff was because when they didn't, when Cormac was killed and she ran into the forest, none of them found her. It was like super rainy at the time, so Faye wasn't able to find her, even though she's a ranger. So Vera thought of that as she could have found her herself. Like Vera, with her survival, she could have found someone. So she thought that they just abandoned her. So she's like, "Fuck all that shit. The only thing I'm
Yeah.
trusting in is the hive."
And look how that worked out for Vera in the end.
Pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
Yeah, I mean, really.
as far as things go, like Vera had a pretty good ending, pretty solid run as a character. Kind of the most successful member of the party, I think, in a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
Like, I think Vera was the first one to like check off everything from their to-do list, to be honest.
Oh yeah. Vera could have died quite a while ago, and it would have been fine. Like as soon as the Deadlands like started coming in, and I like talked to my people,
Mm-hmm.
everything was good.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, the soldier drone has done what they needed to do.
Yeah.
No, we would have been sad. That would be bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly possible that a character or two could have died in the last episode or even before that. But yeah, no, you guys all made it through, and I think pretty legitimately. Like, I didn't want to just force a character to die for just the drama of it. I think that would be shitty on my part. So I wanted it to be organic, and I wanted you guys to have like the opportunity to win the fight without losing anybody, and you guys did. You did an excellent job. Like, you all showed you understood your characters and how they worked and what the abilities they had, and I think by the end of campaign 2, everybody had such a solid grasp on their character and their abilities that yeah, you guys worked together, you synergized, and you kicked the shit out of the final encounter. So
Who's
no-
ready
no
to learn a
problems.
new class, everybody?
Yeah, now everybody's going to learn
Oh,
a new
yeah.
class and start
Yep.
over, and I'm excited as hell for that.
Campaign 2 is going to be so fucking sweaty.
Oh my God.
I don't know about
so,
that.
I'm so nervous not to be playing my fucking broken
Wait.
ass summoner bullshit.
When you say sweaty, do you mean it in the game, in like the game term, meta term, being sweaty as in like OP and broken, or do you mean sweaty as in you're going to be nervous?
Sweaty as in we don't have a good healer.
Okay, so nervous.
We're
All
gonna
right.
be fucking like.
Okay, sorry. I'm
clenching
used to
our
hearing
buttholes.
I'm used to hearing
That's what I'm
sweaty in
talking
the
about.
game parlance of being
I have-
like,
I've never heard it in that term.
yeah, it's a weird
Ready to get
it's
sweaty.
a weird term. Yeah, it's like, oh man, that's a sweaty build is a way to say, dude,
Really?
that's like
I hate
meta.
it.
That's meta as fuck. Don't do that. Yeah.
There are a
Anywho.
couple of things in Kurla's backstory that never quite came up that I can share if you're interested.
Yeah.
The fact that they were good at languages was partially a result of them kind of being raised, kind of being groomed towards being one of the very few people who would be allowed to leave the village, to trade and so forth, because there were one or two kind of higher end members who were allowed to leave and come back to bring in goods that were needed. So they would have had instruction books for that, and given Kurla's like knack for languages, they were instructed in that.
Okay.
So that's one aspect. There's maybe news for Beardy. This is stuff
No,
I
yeah,
developed down the
that's
line that was
interesting.
never in like
Yeah.
the original document. But their armor, the celestial armor, they got when they came across a minor noble and their child, having been set upon in the woods, very unwell. Healing them, reward was for healing them and the sun and getting them back to their place was celestial armor, which was very generous of the minor noble. Does that track, Beardy?
Well, that would be incredibly generous. Sure. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
this guy's son was like death's door, and
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you save a noble's life, then they're going to be very happy about that for sure. And a lot of these people have a ton of money and resources, and if they had like a suit of armor they pass down to their family, and it's like, hey, this is kind of a cool heirloom, and you saved the family line effectively. Like, here, have that. Yeah, I mean that tracks.
then those were the two things that never came up that I
Yeah.
had in mind, that I would have actually, had they if there was a place where they were going to come up, I would have chatted about them with you first to make sure that they were in canon, because that came up
Yeah, and I think
during the campaign versus right before it.
Kurla started at level 12. Was it?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there were some gaps to fill in there for
Yeah,
why
for
they
sure.
had the particular gear they had, but that
Mhm.
was by far the most important piece they had. So that
Yeah.
needed an explanation. That's what had been in my mind for the whole campaign.
For sure. Cool.
Yeah, I think that's all that ever. Those were the only two things really for them.
Okay.
So moving on.
Looking through my doc to see if there was anything, but I guess I did actually sprinkle pretty much everything in there. I got arrested once. I got bailed out of jail. I guess I think I was fine. That I don't think ever came up.
Mm-hmm.
She got bailed out of jail by her uncle, and that she actually had a pretty good relationship with one of her uncles and aunts and their kids.
I remember reading your backstory on the wiki actually and being like, Levette had this uncle. Where is this uncle in the game? What happened to him? Because I noticed he was pretty dominant in the story, so I was always curious where he went off to.
Eaten by mimics.
Oh, okay, grand.
Oh, also, in my first draft for Vera, Vera did not have a scythe. It used to be a hand axe called Mellifera's Mandible.
Oh, that's pretty cool though.
That's fun.
But the Mellifera sting is also fucking iconic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I've started to put together a list of artifacts for Adrian, which I mean would just be what you would consider like a top tier magic item, typically made of divine origin, but not always.
A god item, probably.
I mean, not always, but a lot of them are. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's where I started because those are the easiest ones to come up with. But there's going to be a lot of them eventually. But the idea is that I wanted to have particular artifacts that bounce around through the ages, and people find these things from time to time, or they end up in certain collections. And Mellifera's Sting is on that list, so that's fun.
That's wonderful.
Nice.
And also the Hive Queen amulet, which is going to get pretty broken if their hive is continuing to grow.
Yeah.
Is Le Petit Mot on that list?
No.
Damn.
Life charge?
I think that would be considered maybe a lesser artifact, but I wouldn't put it on the
know.
artifact list. No.
Look, how much money does it cost? How much money do I pump into Le Petit Mot before it qualifies for an artifact?
Nah. I mean, I think an artifact is any item that might be like
Game breaking.
+7 or above in total cost.
It usually would have something
Maybe.
exceptionally
it's hard to
special
say.
about it, right?
It might. I mean, usually they're special. They have different properties than typical magic items. They're effectively priceless. Like they do things that normal magic items can't do. Yeah. So.
Like, what was it? Because Mellifera's Sting is basically a fucking cell phone.
Yeah,
Right
well, it's also like an auto self-teleporter too.
True.
And it's a very powerful scythe that has a lot of crazy shit that can do. So, yeah, like it's a magical art, and not all the artifacts are weapons either. Let me just make sure that's clear. Like, artifacts can be anything, not just weapons. But yeah, so some of these weapons are gonna end up on there. Some are stronger than others, obviously, but yeah. So I'm putting together a list. So I'm hoping that by campaign 2, that list will be robust enough that when something fun appears in the campaign, you can reference that list and be like, oh shit, here's that item I just found off of a dead dragon, and it has like, this particular magic item that's storied and has this cool history to it that now my character can directly influence the next
Nice.
chapter of.
A question.
Yeah.
In terms of artifacts, would the items linked to the 8 be considered artifacts?
Not really.
No? Okay.
No, because they're basically just tokens that are used to nullify their immunity.
Okay. I don't even know what to classify them as in general. They're just kind of like...
Okay. What about the obsession log?
Ooh.
I mean, look,
Armed with evil magic.
just because something has historical significance doesn't make it an artifact.
No,
Also,
it's got power.
I'd like to say that Keni was not able to destroy that by the end of the campaign. So...
Yes.
Oh, it's true. It did survive. Oh,
I-
shit.
I mean, we didn't really go over every second of Risen spending time with Levette.
Oh, yeah?
You,
Okay.
But
you're
it-
kidding me if you think that she would you're as likely to destroy that as she is to destroy the Vardo.
I don't really need it at the end of the day anymore. One day I will go
Mhm.
home. But this is home for now.
I
I
have
mean,
a question.
Riz has accepted a lot of stuff at that point at the end of campaign.
Sure, it's
Sorry.
not likely to happen.
Question,
yeah, go ahead.
referencing back. Was that the reason Petra's dad's there was so much stuff scratched out
Yes.
and
Being a
redacted?
cultist.
Being
Yeah.
a cultist?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Question for Beardy.
Okay.
Sometime through campaign 1, at some point during season 2, you mentioned that you had an idea of where you wanted all of the characters to end up.
Yeah.
I don't recall when that was, maybe like episode 30, 40, somewhere around there you mentioned this. So my question is, did they all end up more or less where you had wanted or expected them to end up?
Yes.
So
Really?
what we saw in terms of the final things, the little vignettes, that's not the
Yeah.
word.
I'll emphasize more or less, but yeah. Yeah. I think more or less everyone ended up where I wanted them to, which was in a happy ending for the most part. I think everybody had a pretty good send-off, and they all kind of were able to accomplish the situations that they were put into. And I don't think a lot of people had like a big to-do list by the end of the campaign. I think most people kind of had all their stuff well in hand, and they were, the only ones that had a lot of stuff left to do was like Levette, which were kind of mundane tasks that just took some time, but they weren't they didn't require like drastic level 20 combat to accomplish, right? So it was just a matter of time.
I wish Levette's reunion with her dad hadn't been as it felt compressed.
Yeah, it felt about right to me. I
Okay.
mean, maybe had more things could have asked him, but I'm not in character.
But
I do have a
we got
question
to
about that.
We got to establish the absolute hell that is a Shamish afterlife.
Oh God.
Pure
I-
Ferengi. I loved it.
Yeah.
I'm
for sure.
surprised that we saw the steam isle wasn't destroyed. So
Yeah, so the shit we saw were those gnomes? Was that real?
What's that?
With the steam isle, were the gnomes we saw gnomes? Were the buildings?
Was it all
You can never
mimics?
know.
were they all mimics?
Oh, when
Were
you
they
look
all
back at the
mimics?
end? Ugh,
Yes.
It might have all been mimics by then. You don't know.
We don't know. Okay, you're not
Yeah.
gonna tell us. Fine. All
No,
right.
you don't.
See how it
Yeah,
is.
it could have been all mimics. They could have
Well,
been
that's all my
vets.
questions. Fuck
They
it.
could have been
They-
vets and gnomes. No, they couldn't have been yet. Obviously, but no. I mean, maybe.
Not
no,
until
there-
Levette builds a time machine.
There are okay. I don't know if I've said this one yet. Maybe I have already, but I said before that the population of a race is sort of determines whether or not it's a playable race, which is like why Serpentes is not a playable race. It's why vets are not a playable race.
I love that
Um,
Kenny just looked back and forth at the whole Serpentes not being a playable race.
Yeah, exactly. It was a special
Yuck, cough.
It was a special circumstance for someone that was very adamant on playing one.
You literally told me, I'd really like you to play a Serpentes one day. And I said,
'Cause-
okay.
Because I think you do a good job at it. All right, fuck you. So
No, fuck you. You're making me sound like
Fuck
an
you.
ass.
no.
No.
So yeah. So starting in campaign 2, gnomes are off the board as a playable race. Times are rough for the gnomes, and they're effectively going to be a scattered people by 808.
Finally.
So so they're not going to be considered playable.
I don't know how I feel about it, but mostly fine. I'm like, oh, that's really sad. And I'm like, is it? They were mean to you. They
You're over
sucked.
here like, I got the vets. Fuck it.
Yeah, I made better people. Fuck those ones.
Connecting with the point Beardy just made in response to my question of whether or not
Mhm.
people ended up where Beardy had kind of hoped and planned they would. Was everyone pleased with where their character ended up, or is there any stuff that you wish could have been done first or could have happened differently for them?
Nothing important.
Nope.
Some petty things I wanted to resolve, but nothing really of value.
Xeno, Skrewy?
What was
Kenny?
the question again?
I said no.
Were folks... Sorry, Kenny. Were folks happy with where their characters ended up?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I said
Absolutely.
I didn't have anything like that I needed to happen.
Gosh.
Yeah, no, there's nothing I needed to happen, but with the now knowledge that my parents were as awful as they were, I'm sad that I didn't get to have that disillusionment.
I like how Skrewy's characters at the end of each season get to be told exactly how bad things were that you didn't know. Like, we had Soul pretending to be Eden for the first season.
Oh my
And we had
god.
this for this season.
Yeah.
Would this have broken Petravian? Would this be the revelation that would finally have destroyed his optimism and just turned him bitter?
I don't know if Skrewy can play that.
That was my
Not
next
yet.
question.
He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
Not yet. I wasn't. No, I don't think I'm able to play bitter just yet. I know I'm gonna be able to.
Well, I'm just saying,
I
you
can
don't
give you
have
pointers.
to. You're done with Petra. You can be better without you.
That's true.
To answer GM's question in the chat, I will say that a fair percentage of the gnomes are mimics at this point. A fair percentage, somewhere in the tune of 30. We'll say
Yikes,
30%.
dog.
I'm so glad we
Ugh.
didn't let them get too close to us before we yeeted the fuck
Oh,
out of
I
there.
would have
yeah.
loved to punch some gnome guards.
Yeah, it's
I wouldn't
it's
have
not,
minded doing that either.
It's not good over there.
I
Which-
really don't want to deal with greater mimics ever again.
Also, since I wasn't able to ask Grem in the last checkpoint,
Oh.
how did you enjoy having the vets? Because I know that you had wanted to have to make a a robot race from the beginning, and
Yeah.
you're just like, no, fuck that, and you're like, okay.
we got to make it make sense. All
So-
right,
so
we're not
if-
just pulling a fucking Warforged around here.
Yeah, that's fair.
We're not just-
I mean,
we're not
it's-
just gonna
I'm
yank
fucking
these out of our
ecstatic,
ass.
and I'm so excited for them. There's so much potential here.
Also,
And
it's
it's-
fucking named after your character.
I know that's wild. That's gonna blow my fucking mind. I'm
They're gonna be
I'm
super
wondering-
fast.
I feel like I might be playing with fire by even saying this, but I'm really curious if anyone other than me is gonna play one in the future,
Maybe.
because that would be really, obviously very cool for me, very interesting. I want to do so, but I'm like, I need to wait at least a few campaigns. I already did this character one time.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I've got some interesting ideas for how they're going to work from racial ability standpoints, like how they're going to function mechanically. I guess pun intended.
Mhm.
And it should be interesting how they function. They should have some pretty unique powers that other races don't. They're probably going to honestly be most similar to changelings as far as their mechanical abilities, because they're going to kind of be able to change themselves quite a bit.
It's because
yeah.
there's two subtypes.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's two subtypes, and based on access to a workshop, they can change their parts around. So it makes them
That's
interesting.
So cool. I just think it's cool that Levette got to make a people, and got
Oh.
to kind of imbue them with her
Sorry.
philosophy.
Sorry, GM didn't hear it because of an ad. I'd say about 30% of the gnomes at the time were replaced by mimics. So about 30%. So yeah, a lot were
That's
mimics.
a lot of fucking gnomes
Rip.
gone.
Was it worth it, Grem? Your revenge against the Amorises?
No, are you kidding me? Levette found that out within 2 hours. That was not worth it.
I don't know if I've ever told you this, Grem, and I apologize, but one of the highlights of season 1 for me was Sol punching out Levette.
I'm not trying to punch out Levette
God.
one time.
It's just like, why did you do that? Why did you?
In that moment, it was necessary, and I was in my car listening to it, and was like, "Oh, for fuck's sake, someone punched!" Yes. So, not a reflection
I mean, I
on you,
was
just a
too,
reflection
for
on
the-
what needed to happen.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, why has nobody like knocked her out or picked her up and just taken her away yet?
I did it.
She's 3 feet tall. She can't stop you.
She was taller than 3 feet back then.
Oh, you're right, Sherry. 3'6". She got shorter.
Oh, so good. How about another fan question?
Yes.
Yes,
This
please.
comes from Pomegranate Paradox. They
Pom.
ask, did Petra get castrated by the party?
What?
Wow.
That is the
Just Sol.
question. I don't know what else to say about it. But I
I
don't
feel
know
like we're
why.
lacking some context with the
Okay,
question,
okay.
but boy,
I
there a
don't
moment
actually
when that-
remember what castrated means.
means
having
to
his bollock.
to remove the scrotum, to cut off someone's
Oh.
testicles.
Oh, well, I'm
Mhm.
sure the impotence spell from Sol was good enough.
Probably, yeah.
So,
So I think the party probably didn't have to.
I'm going to shotgun a couple of these because I think some of them are a little misunderstandings from what happened during the campaign, if that's cool with everyone.
Sure.
Yeah.
So one of the questions was, did the party ever serve their time in Kintao? And I believe the answer is no, because we were pardoned from it from the Emperor.
Yeah, that's correct. The Emperor did pardon you, so you did not have to serve your time after the fact. No.
Also,
Totally
if we
willing
did,
to.
Vera would have told them to fuck themselves.
I love that some people were like, yeah, I would have gone back and submitted myself in chains, no problem. And Vera's like, I will kill everyone in Kintao before I...
100%.
Riz was
My
lying
defense-
through their teeth.
My defense, it
Yeah.
wasn't the appeal of the chains, it was just that Kintao was kind of nice, and Curler would have liked to have
Hey,
spent
no one
some
said
more
it was
time
the
there.
appeal of the chains. I mean, it's...
Do you
That
know
was
how
you.
do you know how
That was you.
excited I was in hopes of going to jail there, so I could just seep through the bars as insects and destroy everybody?
pull a T-1000 and just turn yourself into bugs to fit through the jail bars.
Not only that, I would use it and instantly go back, so it looked exactly like that.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be greght. Instead of it being like that metallic silver, it would have just been bugs.
Yeah.
Uh.
So imagine like the person's face, but instead it's like insect legs crawling over it instead.
Oh,
Oh,
God damn it! You have a way with
Jesus.
words.
body horror.
Oh,
Thank you.
jeez. Okay.
Kenny, what was the next one you were
It's my
shotgunning?
literary
Yeah.
device.
So the next one I am shotgunning is, did Levette ever get around to making the human bot for Hummel? And I believe the answer is Vera did, because that was the original plan anyway, is that Vera was going to make a body for Hummel, actually.
Yes. So I can't remember if we did this on the other checkpoint, but I'll describe it again. Is that Vera has this spell where it's basically simulacrum, where it's called animated husk. So Vera basically sheds the skin. They imbue it with the honey, and she has Karis basically make a way for the soul to interact with it, so that it can be puppeted by Hummel. So it's basically this like amber gilded looking Vera. So I wonder if Vera still has her scars or not, since she shed her skin. I don't know.
It's gross, but I can see why Petravian would still go to that.
Yeah, and like at that point, once
blow.
While the testicles were intact, I mean, this is pre-castration.
yeah,
No.
once Vera gets the 1,000 faces ability, At that point, Vera can kind of choose whether or not to have scars anyway.
That's true. But also, Vero's like, there's a reason why these are here.
Yeah, and that was
It
I
probably
still,
keeps him as a memento.
I still love that conversation about the scars between Carla and.
Love the idea that Vera heals her scars, makes them appear again, does as like a reminder, but also acts like it hurts a lot when everyone touches it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that was one of my favorite conversations was with Petravian after he tortured that man, which was the.
Actually, I do. Palm has a question about that torture scene too.
Oh!
Uh,
what do we got?
Did Petra's act of torture gain him infamy from the people of Obador?
Well,
Is that a question for me or
yeah,
for
that's,
That would
that's
be for you, yeah.
Okay. Sadly, we don't use an infamy system such as that. But
I don't think it was supposed to be like mechanical.
Right. But I mean, as far as like in universe, I feel like the people there would have been like, hey, we'll just like heal him up and torture him again. So it probably made things a lot more gruesome in that area because they're just like, you know what? Yeah, we'll spend some healing to extend this out, make this worse for people.
There is a really interesting part of the heal mechanic that I found when I was reviewing it on one of the wikis. That is, if you have a high heal check, the flip side of that is your
wiki?
D20 PFSRD.
Okay.
It goes into depth about the heal check and the fact that if you have a high heal check, it implies that you have a large knowledge of anatomy and physiology, so it implies that you would be very good at torturing someone.
Yeah, I mean, it stands to reason. It's anatomical knowledge, yeah.
I had hoped I hadn't hoped per se, but I was interested. Why can't I phrase this correct? Part of me was curious what Curler's response would have been had it ever come up in campaign, like the moral grey area there of needing to torture information out of someone in order to save other people.
Yeah.
That would have gone too dark, but it would also. I've always wondered what Curler's response to that would have been, and whether or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we didn't get to that moral gray area. We did different moral gray areas.
Well,
I
don't
don't
know
know
if
the
you
moral grey areas.
take it from me. I don't know if you want to know what your character is capable of.
What was Vera's conversation with Petra again, Xeno? Because we kind of moved a little past
Yeah.
that, but I want to go back
Sorry
to
about
it.
that.
No, that was the one where Vera asked Petra if he can. What was it? If he still felt bad or something about what he did, if he can forgive himself for that, and I believe he had said no, and Vera said good because you should keep scars to remember what you've done wrong or something like that.
You hold it. You hold on to that to make sure that it never happens to anyone else.
I always liked.
Except it
that
does constantly now in that area.
but not by Petra.
No, but it still happens. But it's fine because I didn't do it.
I mean, to be fair, it's not happening that much anymore. Prota's fucked.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
that area that you guys passed through that used to be their border is no longer their border. So, that border checkpoint is no longer part of Protean territory. The people there, the soldiers there, have either died or had to fall back. Like it's a whole thing. Like Prota as an empire, it's kind of shattered at this point.
Like originally, I would have asked like for an ending that we would have helped in the war, in battle defending Kodre. But I feel with how absolutely destroyed Prota is, I don't even think they need the Hive's help.
They
in defending
withdrew.
themselves.
Yeah, the Proteans withdrew from Kodre. Like they had a hardcore fallback.
And
There's resistance movements all over the place, like independence movements all over the place, and it's been a whole fucking mess.
with that, I think we're going to take a break because I've still got a lot of questions. I think a lot of us still have some here and there. So we're going to take like a maybe 10-minute break, I think, for tonight, and we'll be right back. So
right.
We'll see you guys soon. Hello, checkers and pleasers. We are back on the Campaign 1 checkpoint. Good to see you all still.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering who would like to continue with the questions. Who wants to start? Who has something that their curiosity needs to be satiated?
So I'd like to ask a question because I don't think I've asked any questions yet, have I? Or have I?
It's impossible
You
to
just
say.
did.
I just did. Fuck.
Damn it.
Use it up.
So
Do you
That
know
was
what
my
your
my
question.
name is?
So my first question, like my first thought is, if anyone had any regrets.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Oh, I would
uh,
ask that for you, Beardy.
You can ask me that
Regrets.
later, but I wanted to ask the players, like, do any of you have any regrets over season 1 and 2 or campaign 1, however you want to look at it? Either for your characters or for the game in general, like they don't have to be huge or big. Just any little thing, like whatever. Like, is there something you felt like wanted to get into, but just it never came up, or we never got around to it, or what? Like, is there any
yeah.
major regrets that you've all had?
I
Well-
never used True Seeing on Detlev.
That's fair. That's fair. You did get to use Decolate. I know that was one that you were worried about.
I had to throw it in at the end.
Yeah,
I
you
had a
got to
legitimate-
use that one.
I had a legitimate use for that if it was needed to sneak Levette into
Oh,
the
That would
steam
have been
aisle.
hilarious. Yeah, for sure. It's like, we killed her. See?
Yep.
Yeah.
Is
that'd
there
be
a
fun.
reward? And by the way, we're just gonna, But it didn't go that way, so I had to sneak it in as a party trick, and I was pleased. So that wasn't a regret.
Right. So,
Thank you for letting me do that.
it's all good.
So I'd say my regret is I never, I guess it's not really a regret. It's just a thing that never really got brought up much. I alluded to it, if anything. I think around the time of tilting at windmills, Riz started to develop a crush for Kurla. And in that, they decided that they were going to start showing more of, like, who they really were. And it did not go well for them. Womp womp, it happens.
Riz is a hard person to like.
It's true. They're not, like, the best, but,
I
like...
like Riz.
Aw, thank you, Boo. But no, it was definitely at tilting at windmills. There was definitely like a oh fuck, oh no, do I have feelings? I don't know what this is. This is so new. So they're like, you know what? I'm not gonna act on this because I don't know what this really feels like. So I'm just gonna instead just reveal all of my personality instead of hiding behind like a bunch of lies. And we'll see where that goes, and we'll see if it works out. And if I still feel that way, like maybe in a month, then it's meant to be. So cards on the table, yeah. Tarot on the table.
So, I mean, as far as regrets, yeah, there was a lot. A lot of
Aw, tell
sessions.
me.
There were little things. I mean, to the varying degrees. There's the things I regret doing that still turned out more interesting, but I think back to them and I cringe my anus into a black hole. Like, shooting Grow, going to the steam aisle too early,
Fucking
not letting
Vector
or
10.
letting Marcus into the room, not just fucking like I don't know, killing Marcus or something before that was even a problem. Going back and killing the Omorises. I mean, ultimately killing Marcus. A lot fewer in season 2 for sure.
I feel like a lot of the real bad things happened to Levette in season 1.
Yeah, she got front loaded on
Mhm.
tragedy.
Yeah, and I think season 2, I think, was really kind of like Levette coming to terms with it, and then also like growing from it, and ultimately becoming like better off than they'd ever been by the end.
For the most part, yeah, I'd say
think.
so.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kenny, question.
Yeah, what's up?
Was the regret there that you didn't get to pursue that, or that you went that direction in the first place?
Well, like I said, it's not exactly a regret. It's just something that kind of happened that I didn't really get to even like bring up, other than like Riz had kind of said, "Oh, I was in love once."
Yeah. Didn't get to fully explore, I guess.
But I don't know if it's really a regret. It's just something that I knew of and had
Sure.
written in my notes about.
It's something that got left on the editing room floor to borrow a metaphor from a different thing.
What?
It's just something that you just got kind of cut out, effectively. You didn't get a chance to fully explore it. That's all.
But no, there's not like regrets about it. It's just like, oh, that was the thing.
Well, does anyone else have any answers to that? Because I have a follow-up question to my
Uh-oh.
own question.
Let's see.
A lot of the regrets I had until the very last session were resolved in the epilogue. Sorry.
Okay.
I do regret saying that Hummel married Petravian because I feel that goes against Hummel's way.
I mean, I just take it that Hummel just would cheat constantly anyway.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
My headcanon is that Hummel said yes to the ring, but never went to the wedding.
oh, that Hummel like stood Petravian up at the altar.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, was,
Oh,
having his bachelor party and just, like, got drunk and fucked a bunch of guys and then, like, woke up and was like, what time is it? I'll sleep.
I mean, that does
Okay,
sound
here's
Hummel-like.
here's with that statement, here's how I think it would play out. After that happened, Petravian would forgive and forgive and forgive. And then one day he wouldn't. He'd
Good.
say, no.
I don't
I
know
can't do
why
this
you, like,
anymore."
went for a sleaze bag.
Yeah, I mean, Hummel's a bit of a unrepentant slut. So
Yeah.
like,
And then
I don't
he
know.
would go off and then he would start traveling by himself.
Yeah.
With now he'd have
With his true love, Chisel.
Mantis. He'd pour all his attention into Mantis.
Maybe.
that'll be healthy.
That'll be healthy.
That'll be healthy.
I don't want your
And so-
attention,
well, maybe
Dad.
not attention.
I want Mom's attention. God.
Well, not attention, but support for to help them be who they want to be. You know.
I want Mom to look at me like I matter.
Oof.
She just
So-
calls me sister. It's weird.
All right, so my follow-up is actually specifically about romance, and I guess that is like, do any of you, now that we kind of heard that Riz had like a missed romantic subplot, were there ever any situations in which you guys wanted your characters to have a romantic subplot, either with another character or with another NPC that you didn't get to follow through with?
I'm looking at Grem.
The answer to that is extremely complicated. So when season 2 came around, I thought it would be really neat if Levette had a normal, healthy romance with another character that wasn't, related to Moira in any or Soul in any capacity, that she could move on properly. But I was also thinking that, that her building the Moira bot was just going to go catastrophically because it does. Everything she did up to that point went horribly and usually resulted in mass death. So I figured it probably wouldn't be around for very long. Or if it was, then it would be like a weird, unhealthy relationship that she would want to distance herself from. But no, she built this fake Moira and they had a kind of healthy relationship, just enough for her to hang on. And so it was and I, as a player, didn't want to push her out. It didn't make sense for Levette to drop that. So I didn't want to push for her to cheat. But yeah, I think in the way it worked out in the end, made sense.
It's interesting because I was waiting for Levette to tell Riz that she regretted having the Moira bot around because Riz was going to get rid of it for you and be like, hey, you need to move on. You've said so yourself. I'm taking this upon myself so that you can let go.
Yeah, that's why she didn't say that, because she kind of caught. She figured Riz out enough to know that she kind of should. This person doesn't necessarily value life quite the same way I do. I think the life I make, I'm going to keep over here.
I mean, Riz valued your life.
Riz values life, just in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, they're fucked up.
they're all fucked up, but
But-
we're a fucked up little family.
Yeah, I was interested because I was like, ooh, I know Grem loves that romance, so I was curious what all there was.
I didn't want to push it. I was like kind of just waiting to see if there was an NPC in season 2 that would click with her, and there were a few that I was like, maybe, no, not really. Like I thought maybe she would click with Dr. Syed, and then pretty quickly was like, nope, does not really.
That is
Ada's
an
kind
ace.
Ada's
Yeah.
kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
Oh, terrible parent, might I add.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and that was pretty much the only character I can think of in season 2 who like. There was like, yeah, there were, I mean, after that point I was like, I'm just gonna, if this happens then I'll let it happen on its own, but I'm not gonna seek it out.
Anyone else?
So this is for romances. Talking
Yeah,
about?
I don't know.
Yeah.
if
Any
there is.
potential
Well-
romance that you missed out on, or maybe regretted not pursuing, or if you've had like any idea at all.
So I'd like to say that for Vera, obviously Vera's asexual, partially due to their trauma and stuff. I think they would have technically, if their life was normal, they would have been more straight, but still not like that's big part of their personality. But since their requirement was so small, their distancing from people and mistrust of people completely brought them over to the A spectrum completely. But since late season 1, I'd been planning this entire thing of having the Hummel switch.
Mm-hmm.
Purely because I wanted to have Hummel go for Petravian.
Yeah. Just to fuck with Petravian. Yeah. I love it. Why not?
Because before that, there was also Bahren, who also has interest in Vera. And I had set that up to be a bit horrible in that he's like, oh, I'll just stay around here, and eventually she'll see that she likes me.
Yeah.
She-
That's how that works, right?
Like, like the gross, like, dude bro, like, oh, just
Mhm.
haven't been with the right person yet. But I'm glad that didn't come up.
Oof.
It makes Bahren a much better person.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the fact that he was more respectful made him a much better paladin
Oh, 100%.
than
He's
being
such a
like,
good bean.
Vera just needs the right dick. Yeah, right?
Yeesh.
Ugh.
I'm in a
Skrewy.
cat hork.
Skrewy
Hmm.
was. How about you? And did Petravian or Marcus have any romantic plans that you didn't get to act on, or?
I'm sad that the dice said no to
Okay.
Petravian and Karis. I'm bummed, but it made for a better story.
I mean, I did like the idea of them maintaining like a friendship after that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
no,
yeah. And I think it made for some fun scenes, like particularly at the end of season 2 there, where like you got to have like a glass of wine together
and
kind of
reminisce.
reminisce about the old times. And I feel like that is kind of a bittersweet scene, because like it's these two people sort of like reconnecting and like reaffirming a friendship after the fact, but also realizing that like they would have never worked together. And I think that's kind of a fun scene, and I feel like there's a lot of like truth to that. There's a lot of veritas to that
Ah.
scene. You know, there's a lot of yeah, there's
There's
a
a-
lot of reality in there that
Exactly.
is fun. That
There's a lot of
feels
fu-
like a very believable scene.
Mm.
I-
God, it's just I can vision. It's that really is you're absolutely right. That is a phenomenal scene because you could just see it happening, and those make for the best scenes. I think I agree. So thank you, Dice, for fucking me.
I feel like it would have been really fun if it did work though as well. At least on my part, because I'd still try to do the same thing with Hummel.
You think Hummel would have been able to compete with Karis? I don't know.
I definitely
Oh,
would
yeah.
try.
I mean,
I think
Hummel would've-
Petravian really likes being praised for being Petravian.
that's true. I think Hummel would have outpraised Karis for sure.
Mhm.
Which, to be fair, I literally, when I came up with the entire plan, I've said this many times. All I said was, I'm just going to have Hummel say super nice things to Petravian, and it's going to work out.
Yeah, and it'll work. Yeah.
I'm sorry, we can read you, Skrewy. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, so hypothetically,
There's nothing
it
to
would
be
have been
sorry
interesting.
about. I'm a very predictable person.
Yes, you
And I don't hide who I am, and that I am, as you said, yeah, I am very predictable.
I would have really liked to have seen the hypothetical love triangle though between Petravian, Karis, and Hummel, where like Hummel ends up like getting Petravian to like sleep with them, and
Or
then like breaks up the relationship between Karis and Petravian. I think that would have been
That
glorious.
would have been interesting.
That would
That'd
have been
been a
wild because that would have
wonderful
really fucked
hypothetical.
with Karis's relationship with Vera, I think. Because
Oh,
she
yeah.
would see Vera and think of Hummel.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, that
That
would
would
have
be
been a wrecking
interesting.
ball.
Also, I think that Hummel also had the distinct advantage over Karis. Karis does not have that advantage of having Vera's body.
Yeah, who's hotter, Skrewy? Karis or Vera?
Sure.
Vera has those elf genes, yo.
It's true.
Yeah, half
Vera's
elf,
wearing jeans now?
half elf with the abs. I'll tell you, Karis
It
doesn't
really
have
is the abs.
Yeah, Karis doesn't have that. She's just kind of like a wispy goth
What-
girl.
What is she? Just a skinny white girl? Ew.
Yeah, she's a skinny white girl that's kind of gothy. That's about it.
Ooh, she wears eyeshadow.
Yeah. Oh.
You're so special.
I mean, me personally, I have a type, but yeah, between the two, yeah, Vera has it.
Well, I'm
Sorry to
glad
ask.
that your attractions are purely physical. So anyway, that's my question sated for now. Did we have a question from the audience or anything? Or did we get all through all those?
I got one.
To answer GM, yeah, Petravian. Okay, no, Petravian catches a lot of breaks. Catches a lot of breaks. Just in life situations, no, he cannot, and that's because he's denying himself. He is not taking care of.
Wait, what
He's
question
not
are you answering right now?
To
What
GM
is this?
in the
to
chat.
GM.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's. I feel like
yeah.
Petravian can't catch a break.
Once he finally realizes he doesn't need to find acceptance from externally, his life will he will find more breaks coming his way.
You know where a great place to find that is within the hive.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right,
All-
you
never
asked
not be
for
selling.
a fan question. I've got one. Dancing Mop asks, some of the characters have audibly different accents and some don't. I know this just kind of was players choosing whether to do an accent or not, but like, I don't know, did Skrewy and Xeno ever make a canon explanation? Or were Vera and Petra actually using accents this whole time? We just never heard them.
Oh, you reminded me with that question. I also do have a regret, but I'll let answer after.
So-
Is it the accent?
Yeah, it's about. Well, it's not about Levette's accent. It's about a bit we never got to do. I was trying to set up, but I didn't want to be rude in character.
So I guess in technicality, Mop is asking if Vera had like a Villish accent and Petravian had a Protean accent, and we just didn't hear it as audience, but that's definitely what the characters would have heard.
I think that Vera's accent is complex in that they learned, probably would have learned on Villish, obviously, but then that was like 9 years. Then they were in the fucking forest, being raised by a basically dead primal deity until they were like 19.
It's just
And-
Wolf German.
And when they did that, they had gone into like the Kodre, the Parthenay, Burgos kind of area. So their learning of languages would be mixed up a bit. It wouldn't be a full-on like village accent. So I don't think their accent is very normal.
Right. So I would say that almost to put it in like Earth terms, Vera would have like a pan-European, kind of a mix of a lot of different things picked up from
well,
here and
that really kicks my bit in the nuts then.
there. And then what about Petravian?
So Petravian, so Proto being a stand-in for the Roman, so it would be would it be in Italian?
No,
Since
it'd be Latin.
it'd be Latin. Veritas. So it.
Yeah, that also kicks it. So I was really hoping somebody was gonna fucking at some point just make fun of Levette for her accent, or just bring it up, address it in character, namely when she was intoxicated. That was really, I was really hoping, because I want to do a whole bit where she does impersonations of everyone else's accents, where she's like, "You all have accents, I don't have an accent," and I was
Can you
so
do that
excited.
for us right now?
Yeah, sure. So the first one that I came up with was Riz's, which I'm going to be real, has very little to do with their accent. The whole idea was that she just gets them horribly wrong, and so her accent for Riz was just like, "I'm Rizen. Oh, I don't have an accent. I'm from another world. My skin is purple." And then for her accent for Vera, like, "I'm Vera. I come from Ville. I like peace." And then this is the better. I swing the hammer. I suplex the chisel.
That was mildly offensive, but okay.
Gotta love that.
And then of
fish
course
spaghetti.
Kurla doesn't have an accent, so there's nothing to make fun of there.
Yeah.
Oh god, that's
Because
hysterical.
it sounds gnomish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, I'm trying to think of how to do Petravian's deep voice with the. So you go. Levette, here I am. Oh, Levette, look at me. Here I am. Let me make a machine.
The
Sorry,
machine!
A machine.
I mean, the gnomes are coded as Scottish
Are they?
in accent, are they not?
No, they're
No.
Irish.
Yeah, I was
Scottish
saying
is
Irish.
elves.
The wood elves are Scottish.
As far as accents go, yeah.
Yeah.
And while we're on the topic, I've said this with this group, but just so I'll say a checkpoint at some point. The whole story behind Levette's accent was, honestly, I feel super bad because it was in a way me just not giving Beardy enough credit. I just was with what we had in the wiki, there wasn't info about Parthenay, and so I didn't think to ask if there was Fantasy France or if there was any place with French accents. I just looked at what I had, said, "Oh, I guess not," and thought, well, what if elves have French accents? What if she's got a French accent because she's heard Elvish? And then we got right through season 1, it was like, no, there's France. And it was like, oh, well, do I have a connection to it? It's like, no, you're from underground, actually. It's like, okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I was using an English accent for Soul's family, and they still do.
Mhm.
So I
Use
don't know.
whatever, whatever accent matches the character, yo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that is what it came down to. I couldn't change it at that point because it was just iconic for the character, but it was like...
The pseudo-French kind of German accent.
I mean, yeah, I was trying to do just a very heavy cartoonish French accent.
I mean, it's sort of just shorthand. Whenever you need to have a noble, you just put on a kind of crappy British accent, and that's a noble, right? I mean, it's just like in cinema, if you need a bad guy, you give him a British accent.
What?
Mhm.
No, you make them hot. You don't need...
Oh, is that it?
I mean, the accent does help, but
Exactly. There you go.
you gotta make them hot.
Yeah. But yeah.
Or disgusting.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
not
ones
like a
tend to be
villain, is
awful.
Hard pass.
I mean, that's the idea, yes.
Good question. Good question.
Very good question.
Oh. What was the the temple that we uncovered when we were getting to Glarv's.
I can't talk about it.
Nice.
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 An old enemy, an old
The Fisher
adversary.
Temple, I believe it was.
Which I think I know who it. I think we have it on the wiki.
Yeah,
Right.
it's a temple to a long forgotten god that is submerged underground, and you guys don't really know much about it. But yeah,
Yet.
it was a temple. It's been abandoned for a really long time.
A lot of blood everywhere, if I recall.
Yeah,
Right?
a lot of blood. You know,
Oh, fine.
Glarv was holed up in there, so it's a whole
I
thing.
love blood.
Yeah,
So-
I have so much of it.
I love
It's
it
all on
being
the
in
inside.
my
I take it
body.
everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah. So basically, it's something I can't get into because it will be important to a future season. So
What?
there's that.
Campaign.
Yes.
Well, both.
Porque no los dos.
Porque no los dos.
So,
No los dos.
just to be selfish with a question, did Riz ever find Sha'ade after the assistance from Kurla?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Fuck you.
I guess.
I mean, I guess. Like, fuck. Like, how much
That's
time you spent now?
fine.
No, you had pretty accurate information as to where Sha'ade was, so yeah, I figure there's no problem about just popping over there and being
I'm
like,
sorry.
Dragon
Yeah.
comes up, you're just like disintegrate.
I've
Mhm.
dealt with worse.
just lazily kill a dragon. Yeah. I mean, look.
With Riz and Jiro?
Yeah. But yeah, you get into a situation where you meet Sha'ade and
Sha'ade.
probably restore their memory. Probably. I mean, yeah. Sounds fine to me. I don't see
Feel like-
why not. Seems like it's something that Riz would have done.
I feel like you could just be like, hey, Thess, you know,
You know how I'm not cursed anymore? Cursed. Can you help this guy? He tried to help me, and it was just because of my own, selfishness. Please, please, please.
And that probably would have happened. So I don't see any reason why that wouldn't be the case.
he's just like, no.
I don't feel like it.
Ask me in the morning.
It turns out just Thess is just the least helpful of all the gods.
And that's why it wasn't on your Vardo.
Yeah.
Oh, let's
That's
see.
what the whole buy the wind thing was. Just like whenever you buy the fucking wind or whatever,
Yeah, just fuck it, whatever. Like,
Go-
just get out of here.
get out of here. Go.
Oh, that's another regret. I was hoping to find a magical dagger so I could just give it to one of the twins.
Hmm.
Just be like, you guys like this, right? This is fine? Yeah, okay.
Oh, fuck. I'm so
You-
glad they're enough trouble as is.
Like you like weapons, right? Here you go.
Like, why
That's
did
what
you
kids
give that?
like.
They
And-
fight
yeah.
over it, and one stabs the other and trying to, keep
and-
it.
And Vera be
Ooh,
like,
boy.
but they're old enough. They're like Squin's 16 or something. I don't know,
Oh
18?
God.
Well,
Um,
we're like about
Ugh.
5 now.
Speaking of the
We're
twins,
this
enough.
many.
I had sharp objects when I was 9. That's fine.
Yeah, look how Vera turned out. Vera said, I did this when I was a kid, and look how I turned out.
speaking of the twins,
Uh-huh.
how am I going to word this? So they really interested in that chaos seed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
How do they after they know of its existence, do they try to acquire one on their own?
You mean steal from Barrow?
Yes.
I'll leave that up to Beardy.
I can't answer that.
Boy.
Oh boy.
Oh, that's gonna be so bad, I feel. Oh.
What? The Chaos Twins
Yeah.
getting a Chaos seed to eat?
Right. Like, what's so bad about the two maybe most powerful beings? With absolutely no ability to self control. Like, running amok in the world. What could possibly go wrong?
Oh,
Yeah.
did
Raduvi's just gonna have to beat them with a hammer.
question? Did Bob and Marcus become best friends?
The giant purple worm that we sent to go in the ground with Marcus's gem.
Oh, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Marcus the Destroyer.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they became best friends.
Nice.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
It's cute.
Speaking of Marcus the Destroyer,
Yeah, I was
and
gonna
how he-
ask what the future of him was.
Well, normally I would say I can't answer that, but I'll give you a little taste of this, and that is, you left the soul of one of the most powerful necromancers to ever live, and to ever live and unlive, if you want to put it that way, unguarded on a world that is not protected from any kind of scrying or divination, with no guard, with just the hopes that nobody would be able to travel there and get it.
I was being hurried. Okay, I was like, we're playing this out, and then I was being told like, all right, come on, just go.
So,
We gotta we gotta do this. I was like, all right.
All I'm going to
let's go then.
say is that there's plenty of spells that can divine the location of an object, and there's plenty of spells that allow you to travel from one world to another. So
But there's only one worm to kick their ass.
Bob died of old age.
Shh.
So would
So-
my
Lives
my
forever.
choice to have brought it to the Eternal Court so that we could properly take care of it, would
So,
that
yeah,
have
if
worked
you-
more efficiently?
If it were brought to Thess in the Eternal Court, yes, it would have lasted much, much better there. It would have been watched over and protected and guarded. It also would have worked out better if it was turned over to the Temple of Gagarian, like
That was
to
my
watch
other
over. Like
consideration.
honestly, anything to like protect it or to like keep it under lock and key would have ultimately been a better answer.
But that's what the Proteans did, and it didn't fucking work for them.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it didn't work. I mean, obviously, because there was a
Screwed
you
up.
know
We
was-
were just putting it somewhere where nobody was there.
Right.
I mean, who fucking wants it? Why are they gonna look for it? Fuck 'em.
exactly. I
Why
mean,
do they
but-
want to go find it?
Sure, and
About
there,
him not getting out.
but also realize that there was like a pretty active cult of people in Proto that believed his return was going to like cleanse the world.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure there'd be no Gagarian cultists down the line.
Thanks,
I'm
Mom.
sure
Yeah.
he's got
Thanks,
no
Dad.
sort of capacity
Right.
to
There-
influence
and there's-
people.
Exactly. It's an airtight operation in Gagarian's church, right?
Also,
I'm
they're gonna-
sure.
They're gonna scry this fucking orb, and they're gonna see a lot of fucking dirt.
A lot of dirt. You're gonna
Yeah,
see a lot of
dirt.
dirt on a dead world.
Hope that's
And
a
the
good
thing
clue,
with-
motherfucker.
Yes.
So look, I'm not saying that someone's going to pop over there and grab it immediately. I'm not saying I'm saying that it will probably happen at some point in the far future, because just there's a lot of time and people are crazy and think, hey, what if I get this, very powerful magic item, which is a black sapphire with a very powerful caster soul in it, and I can find a way to tap it and turn it into like a magic battery, and then I accidentally break it. Or maybe I worship this guy and I'm going to let him out and he'll give me a reward. I mean, there's any number of like crazy fucks that are going to do something like that, thinking they're going to get like ahead in life because of that.
What would happen if we
Will
put it
this
in the
happen in
pocket
the near
dimension?
future? Probably not. This will probably be something that happens multiple campaigns from now, but it's certainly a possibility.
That is
Um,
their problem.
But yeah, that's a
would
problem
happen-
for the far future.
What would happen if I left in the cube?
I mean, is the cube like unscryable?
I don't know. It's a pocket dimension.
It's a
I don't know
pocket
what that
dimension. It's a
entails.
pocket dimension. I mean, like anybody that could scry it could technically pop into it, right?
Well, if they want, I don't know. If I
Yeah.
was gonna put it in there, I just load it up with fucking traps.
Right. I mean, but at least that would have some form of protection on it.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, I feel like no matter where it goes, there's the chance that somehow it could go wrong. Like there is no foolproof way to get rid of this thing. Kind of. But I won't get into that. That's I'm not
You
going to
get
talk
two bags of
But-
hold.
about.
Well, probably if we delivered them to like a fucking positive energy plane, maybe
I mean, that's
that
an
probably would have
interesting.
gotten rid of them.
That's interesting. You could try that. But
I don't know. I was worried about the Thess plan and delivering him any outer plane because, like, I was worried that he might, even if it took longer for him to get out, that he might come out a lot stronger if he finds a way to channel God energy being there.
It's possible. Yeah.
And that would be real dangerous.
Yeah, that would be really dangerous because then if he found a way to like subvert divine power
Time.
directly, oh yeah, and you leave him somewhere where time doesn't matter, yeah, that's very dangerous, right? So sure, I mean, there's a lot of options that could go wrong in a lot of ways. So like, I'll put it this way: there is no foolproof answer. There was no quote unquote answer to that question. It was just whatever you guys felt was the opportune reason to do or way to do it. And your answer was reasonably okay. Like it got rid of the problem and effectively kicked that can generations down the road. So I think all in all, it's a good enough answer.
Wait. Okay, does space work like space? I don't know if our characters would, if my character would even know this. Could hurtle it through space and then it's, perpetually moving, and anyone who wants to find it has got to intercept it
Yeah, kinda.
in the infinite void. Oh, that would have been a good plan.
Well,
Yeah.
the void isn't infinite, right? You got the egg.
It doesn't matter. It's big enough.
It's
The
big enough.
fucking
Yeah.
space between planet, like you
That egg's-
scry an
yeah.
object moving through space, you have
Right.
no knowledge of
But-
where the fuck it is.
But like, realize the egg is a collection of multiple galaxies. Like,
Yeah,
it's a lot of
exactly.
space. Like, yes, it's not as big as the observable universe that we live in, but it is still a very large area that I'm not going to bother making measurements for.
Oh,
So yeah. Any other questions about anything?
What was up with the hags that changed our direction of
God damn
the
it.
Druid Circle when we were
Son of a bitch.
heading to Parthenae
God
in
damn it.
season 1?
fucking hags.
Why? Tell me, Beardy. Tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a heartache.
Tell me why.
Ain't
I'm only
nothing
human.
but a-
Here it is.
Sometimes I make mistakes.
Mhm.
Sometimes I have an idea.
Mhm.
And I think that it would be a really cool idea for an encounter or for like a mid-season villain. And I'm like, oh, I can like have this little thing where you guys have a little side problem with some trio of hags in Parthenae. Sometimes I have that idea, and sometimes I think better of it, and I'm think maybe this won't work as well. Maybe this won't be as interesting or exciting as I thought it was. And then you guys are just like, yeah, I'm just gonna like ace this survival check and get out of here. I'm like, okay, cool, it's not a problem. I guess if nothing else, I wanted to set up that there are a lot of critters all over the place. There's a lot of bad folks spread around the world. There's a lot of monsters. There's a lot of magic users. There's a lot of beasties that would be interested in eating people or devouring your magic or whatever, right? Like, I just, as long as I can get over or get across the idea that the world is big and full of adventures to be had, then that's enough for me. For that scene, I guess. Like, at least the idea is that you think, oh, there's something nasty out here that we just managed to avoid. That's kind of good enough for me, because it's like, well, now you know that there's nasty stuff out there, and if there's nasty stuff out there, maybe there's nasty stuff out everywhere. And it's a way to make this it's a way to make the setting feel bigger, I guess, in a way. But at the same time, like, ultimately, it came down to me just kind of thinking better of an encounter and being like, this might not be as fun as I thought it was initially, so I'll pocket this for a later date, which I ended up reusing that kind of sequence later in season 2 of campaign 1, when you guys had the run-in with the hags when you're going across Golgothia.
Mhm.
Speaking of which,
We have a really
Uh-oh.
good question in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, unless you had something else. I thought you were leading into that.
no, I was going to do something that was with what we were just talking about before.
Okay, ask that,
episode.
please.
Okay, so we had Fortune's Favor.
Yes.
Are we going to see more of that, do you think? Or like
what?
the trading company?
Oh, the trading company, Fortune's Flavor. Yeah.
Is it flavor for that
No,
one, or
it's
is it?
favor.
No, it's favor.
Okay.
I know.
Beardy's just being a little shit that I can
I'm just being a little
literally
shit.
go and beat up in that room.
Yeah, they're not ways away.
So, yeah. I guess part of the problem is with the political breakdown in Oxidor. It does make a bit more difficult to have overland trade routes, because if the area is now, instead of being one contiguous empire, is now 5 different states, and each one is going to have different laws, and each one's going to have different tariff that they're going to take on any merchants traveling through there, it's really going to like stifle mercantilism in the area, and it's basically going to like cut trade down significantly. So from a realistic standpoint, if they exist at all, they have moved on somewhere else. They are no longer operating in Oxidor. So they've probably moved to Kodre, Parthenae, Burgos area, and they're probably active there. So I don't see why they wouldn't be around. I mean, at least to some like maybe they merged with another one, and I mean it's possible they got bought out, I guess, too. So like it's possible they were bought out by a bigger trade conglomerate. Especially if maybe they lost a caravan or two in the political upheaval in the West. So, I mean, I guess it's anyone's guess if they're still around. So I'm not going to say one way or the other if they're for sure still around, but it's possible.
Gotcha.
It's something that could pop up in the future and that'd be interesting. So maybe.
Will we potentially see that cursed town from
Oh,
that? I
There's a-
wasn't there, and if
there's a
I was
regret.
there, I would have been like, "We're going to go to that cursed town and see what's up."
Cursed. Oh, the one that the road went around.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it, or as in it may show up eventually.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. I didn't know if
you,
it was
you asked me an either or question and I answer yes.
okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So we have a question in the chat.
Yes. So the question is, for all of us, how do you think your characters will be remembered by history, or if they even will? Does anyone want to start? Okay. So for Riz, I think Riz has forgotten my history
And that makes
pretty
sense, yeah.
easily. They're not
Mhm.
really from around.
Mhm.
Like Adrian to
Wow.
begin with, they kind of came in and came out.
And nobody
Yeah.
saw Riz as Riz until like the very end there.
True. So it's
Mhm.
not like they'll ever
Any
be remembered.
impact
for
Riz
that.
left is somebody else in a way.
Yeah. So yeah, I can see Riz having no historical record or impact for sure.
And I think that's for the best, I think, for a being like them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, that was partly why Riz had that part of the curse was because they were never supposed to stand out where no matter where they went. They would have been accepted as like just a traveler. But anyway, yeah, what do y'all think? I'll pick on somebody. Xeno. What do you think? How do you think Vera would be remembered, and would it be good or not?
it's definitely better than she deserves. But
Remembered as a hero?
well, first of all, she's doing this whole marketing thing after we saved the world,
Yeah.
where she's saying that all of us stop Marcus.
Mm-hmm.
You can thank the Hive for that.
Yeah.
So she is known as for that. Everyone in the Hive knows that she basically brought Mellifera from death basically into life again.
Yeah.
And now she's basically a museum piece that people can be like, oh yeah, in this temple, she's inside this amber,
Yeah.
like
I mean-
somewhere inside this like Hive material.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think that Vera probably attained definitely like a level of celebrity status after the events of Campaign 1, where the character is just like a popularly known name. And I think I've mentioned this before, but never mind. I'll just keep that one to myself.
Now, what about a popularly gnomed name?
Oh shit!
I don't know. I don't know if it's a gnome name. That part I have no fucking idea. I assume. I mean, there's one part of the world in which she's mother, she is God, and then the rest of the world, I have no fucking idea if Levette left any impact. I am too ingrained into her mindset that she assumes no, to have an objective view on that.
I'm guessing the vets will always remember Levette because Levette is the mother.
Yes, they'll have to.
It's
They'll
part of
remember
their
something.
programming.
I mean, they're just there's I can't imagine that they won't. Like, yeah, that's where they come from.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about outside that. I don't know. It's weird. Do you have the answers there?
To what specifically?
If people outside the vets will remember Levette, if her actions made any impact on any other groups or cultures.
Wittingen?
Yeah.
I think
She's got a statue in Wittingen.
I think that you're I think that you're going to be the Levette would definitely be remembered in Ville for
Mhm.
various things. I think that Levette will be remembered in Presidium as well.
Interesting.
And I think that the gnomes probably won't. I think that
Okay.
while
I'm
Levette
glad
was
to hear that.
while Levette was like a wanted person for a while, I think that
Mhm.
they have eventually bigger fish to fry, and they're like, "Oh shit, we don't have time to like search for
Catch
this
the
person."
halfling, half gnome.
Yeah, like whatever. We'll just, we
She's
have
probably
other
dead somewhere.
problems. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because like the whole thing is like by the time the gnomes realized the problems they were in, it was kind of too late for them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I know. I think so. I think Levette would have attained some level of notoriety
Mm-hmm.
in certain parts of the world. Yeah.
I mean, obviously we don't know Rella's fate, and I don't know how much that's tied to the future of Levette's business.
Can't talk about it.
But I hope her name is tied to that in some capacity. Although if it's not, the bitch.
I can't talk about
Yeah.
it.
I mean, eventually,
We'll
I'm
find
sure
out
one
in, like-
day we'll get to call her a bitch or not.
We'll find out in like 6 months. I don't know. Whenever,
I'm sure
whenever
my next
campaign
character
2
will not hate her regardless, and I'll have to deal with that.
Isn't
Yeah.
that the magic of playing a new character? You're like, I have no relation to this old character, and therefore I can't be upset for them. But on the inside,
Ah.
Yeah, I can't avenge them. Like, what's my justification?
isn't that right, Skrewy? We have no relation to our past characters.
None.
I
Nope.
can't,
We
I
have
can't,
no relation. Our hands are off their wheel.
I
Exactly.
can't wait until I play Zulin and I see anything hive related, so I can be like, why would I care about these troglodytes?
yeah.
The thing is, I forgot to mention that Val had an imaginary gnome friend
Oh, God.
named Levette. Yeah, and so he's very invested in the success of gnomes.
Mm-hmm. He likes small.
Yeah.
He likes small.
He likes small.
Skrewy, how do you think Petravian will be remembered?
Yeah.
I don't know if he will be, to be honest. He was there. He would have always been there with all the movers and shakers, but never as the mover and shaker. So he was always there to heal. He was always there to help when needed, but he was never in charge. Well, that depends on would the hive how would the hive consider his contributions in reuniting the Edenites and the Maleferants?
I mean, Mellifera literally listened to you and talked to the Edenites, so
So I would say that as far at the very least, Malefer would remember him. Now, I don't know if they would make note necessarily, but I feel that at the very least, Malefer and Vera would remember him. So that's good enough for him.
I also feel like there'd be obviously chapters of Edenites who would remember, because you are literally the bridge between two faiths.
Hmm?
And I feel like there's going to be two sections of the hive that have mixed feeling about Betravian being the bridge.
Yeah. That's
Oh.
Yeah, because there's the hive, and then there's the siblings of the lesser, who might not be as happy about there being a tie between the two religions. So,
Then there's the descendants of Chisel.
I was gonna make
That
elk
fucking
noise.
asshole. That's why.
Yeah. So in as of campaign 2, if you guys go to Ville, you can buy yourselves a riding elk.
And then Emmy, Foaly, what would you say for Kurla?
I mean, just going off the conclusion, the fact that they were partly at least responsible for founding Ville's first real hospital, I think within healing circles they'll be decently well known,
Mhm.
probably remembered as a bit of a bitch, and a really terrible administrator, but a pretty good teacher.
Cantankerous.
Cantankerous, yeah.
I like it.
Someone who was kind and good without being nice. So I think they'll be known for that within healing circles, and outside of that, I don't think they'll be particularly well known. Nor would they have sought that fame. I mean, the statue is of their sister, not of them.
Mhm.
So the self-aggrandizement, they would have been very uncomfortable with all that attention. So they would
Can I
not
make
have
a
actively
request?
shaped their own legacy. What's up?
If your character meets our character, well, if Beardy deigns it, that our characters, any of our characters, meet our new characters, treat them with all the indifference and or love as you would think we as we would have played them with.
I mean, all I ask is that you would do what your current character would do. That's it.
Cool.
Nothing more, nothing less.
Yo, I don't want
Also-
Zulin to meet Vera.
Yeah, I don't want.
No,
I don't want anyone
Zulin
to meet Vera. Very scary.
I have no
Hmm.
worries about Louis meeting any of my old characters. They're fucking gone.
Yeah, they're gone.
They're gone. I don't have to worry about it. I live freely.
Yeah.
I'd love to.
Yeah,
to meet
Kenny
Levin
has
again,
a-
but-
Kenny has a habit of like when they're done with a character, that character is done with the world.
Well, I'm not really done with Soul. They're just somewhere else.
I kind of want to have all of them meet Kurla just so Kurla can scold them for being irresponsible and getting themselves hurt. In my mind,
Nice.
that's a cute image.
I think Soul did Soul leave an impact on the world?
Probably since Farah started a religion for them. And obviously with Presidium, I think they'll always be known to the villagers probably as a failure, much to Karis's attempts to make it sound like they were a hero.
Did Vera start a religion for Soul? That was another thing. That kind of got said in the epilogue, but like the conversation between Vera and Levette in the final episode leading up to the epilogue really did not necessarily give me those vibes.
Vera definitely created groundwork
Yeah.
for a religion to be created. So,
Well, I don't know how much influence Levette can have over her people's culture when she's like before the fact. But I also think that most of these other your characters would probably live on in that. Something I had been thinking about is what faiths she would propagate amongst them, and I mean whatever they want to worship, but like what things would probably be popular based on her teachings. And I think that Melliferanism would be. I think that. I think Edenites might be, just because it would be good for them to have a healthy respect and relationship with like the natural world.
Mm.
And then obviously Levette's got her own faith. I imagine that probably plays into it. And she might try to get. It really depends on how post-campaign conversations went between characters, whether or not she would try to get some of the vets to worship Soul or not. Because like As it was, she would be like, no, that's a bad idea. I don't want to basically subject them to a cult. But on the other hand, if Vera could probably have convinced her, because she was affectionate enough towards Soul that she could pretty easily convince in time.
Remember, it's
And if-
only a cult until it's popular.
And if Archie retained any of those memories, or even was curious about the feather on their body,
Exactly. That was my thinking, was that I could see Archie being like the high priest of the Church of Soul or something like that, among the vets anyway.
nice.
I cannot confirm nor deny that.
Cool. Good. Don't. I want to find out
I'm
the
fine
hard
with
way.
that. All right. So we've got another fan question from Pomegranate Paradox again.
Pom.
Did fish spaghetti ever catch on?
Yes. Fish spaghetti catches on and it becomes the rage for a couple of decades until there was a particularly bad, there was kind of a disease that swept through an area that messed with the fish and caused them to become semi-toxic. So there was a bunch of really bad fish spaghetti for a little while, and it kind of turned everyone off of it, and they ended up being like, oh, we can't eat this anymore because it's all poisonous. So it kind of fell out of favor after 15 or so years.
Out of fortune's
That's
favor.
That just
Yeah.
makes it a
more like
delicacy these days.
unfortunate.
So people today will make it, and other people will be like, you can't eat fish spaghetti, it'll make you sick. And that's just kind of this, it's kind of like this sort of, I don't know how to put it right.
Background paranoia.
Yeah, it's just sort of like this understanding that that because it was bad for a short time, that means it's going to be bad forever. And these people are just such traditionalists when it comes to food that it's like, oh, well, you can't eat fish spaghetti.
It's kind of like how I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy a Toyota. Their brakes don't work, even though that was one time they were recalled.
Sure, I mean, it takes a lifetime to build a reputation, and it takes a second to destroy it, kind of thing.
It's like when people will be like, do you buy raw pork? Aren't you worried about swine flu?
Right.
Fucking
You
swine
know.
flu? Are you crazy?
Sure. But I mean, to relate it to real life,
MSG.
not
There's
exactly.
nothing
I was
wrong with MSG.
Well,
I was going-
exactly. That's what I'm saying.
I was
That's
going way
point.
back
Got a
further
bad
than
rep.
that. So there was an outbreak of, I think it was called trichinosis in ancient times that caused a bunch of people that were eating pigs at the time to get really sick and die. And after that, their religion said, you can't eat pigs anymore. And that has literally lasted to now. So, I mean, once something gets into a religious belief, it sticks around, whether it has any basis in reality or not.
Eden says, don't eat fish spaghetti.
Yeah. So, now it's a whole thing. And it's well, fish spaghetti is, you can't eat that.
Blasphemy.
At least not on Fridays.
Lovely
during the night.
questions from our fans. Thank you guys so much. That's the last
Thank you.
that I was given.
I appreciate. Thank
That
you
was
so
a
much.
Great one.
Thank you all.
Great one to end on.
Yep.
Some
Fish
poor vet
spaghetti.
so far in the future is gonna make an exodus to the mainland and be just excited for a plate of fish spaghetti and find out they don't eat that anymore. But I've heard so much about fish spaghetti.
Yeah. I had these taste buds installed.
Yeah, it's literally part of our faith.
We must make a
We have come on this
pilgrimage.
pilgrimage to have the fish spaghetti, and they're like, well, we don't eat that anymore.
Well, it's
It'll make you
toxic.
sick.
I'm like,
Oh,
I
it won't
don't
make
worry
us
about
sick.
that. That's fine. I don't
Clang,
give a shit about that.
Oh,
like,
boy.
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be fine. Make it
I
anyway.
got an iron gut, as they say.
Ah,
Nice.
beautiful.
So, what happened to the giants' culture after we decimated them?
I don't want to avoid that one.
I can't talk about it.
Cool.
Ooh, okay. All right.
I will give you a hint though. Nothing good.
All right. I'll continue.
May I jump in with one?
Yeah.
You
I
know-
think it's the last question on my list. I still desperately want to know who the other party was in that fucking tavern.
Yeah.
They were just randos.
Ugh.
They were just fucking random. I didn't even name them. They had nothing.
So
It was
this is
No
just
what
to
name.
bother us mostly.
It was just to bother you guys, just to be like, hey,
You bastard.
poke. That's it. That's all. They were just there to be like a faceless antagonist.
And it
You
clearly
raised
worked.
my hopes
It
and dashed
clearly
them quite
worked.
expertly. So
Yeah,
thank
like
you for
the
that.
fact that it hung on to you this long is the greatest indication of success that I could ever get.
Bravo.
Does anyone have any other questions so far?
I've got a couple. I don't know if they don't feel like good ending ones, but I could throw
No,
them
I've
in
got
there.
3 more. So
Okay. So early in season 2, we got those visions from Not Soul. Who were those from, and what was that about? Because like
that's a good question.
That's a
I
good
thought it
question.
was from Marcus, but it felt like really counterintuitive to his goals.
Yeah, so it was for Marcus.
Okay.
The idea is that he was trying to get inside your heads a little bit, and it wasn't so much he was directly talking to you.
hmm
It was that his scrying, the way he was scrying on you guys, sort of was leaving behind traces, like the corruption that he was spreading, like just by like spying on you, was causing you to have nightmares that were sort of preying on your own insecurities.
Nightmares that Soul's bullying us.
Yeah, pretty
What
much.
a bastard.
But so again, it's not like he was doing those like literally. He wasn't just like puppeting a fake soul to like fuck with you guys. He was that was sort of just a side effect of him peeking into your brain.
So why
Okay.
did we only ever get like 1 nightmare each?
Oh, because I just didn't write any more nightmares.
Yeah. I mean, after the Chihuahua humping thing, I was okay with not having
Yeah.
any more.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm only human. All right, I'm gonna make mistakes, and you know, part of that is just I should have written more nightmares, but I didn't. So that's all. That's all there is to that one. Apologies.
All right. What
Good time.
in the end happened to the lightning blades?
So the lightning blades, they were hard at work trying to save Vil. They fought a delaying action pretty much out of Hartenshin. They saved a lot of people in the process. Like they were, of course, they were working for money. Like they were doing this as like a contracted group, along with a lot of other contracted groups. Because I don't know if I make enough of a deal about it, but there are a lot of other people in the world that have the profession of adventurer. Like there's a decent number of people that are like that. Rarely do they get above level 10, but sometimes they do. But with the lightning blades, what's that?
Sometimes they even get to level 20.
Sometimes, very, very rarely. But with the lightning blades, they are one of the top tier ones in Vil, and they were working to try to save as many people as they could. By the end of it, I believe they would have succeeded in surviving the onslaught of the undead and slowing them down a little bit. Probably enough to save a few thousand people that were fleeing by the end of their contract. And then by the time the Deadlands got destroyed, they probably saved 1,000 or so people, maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people in total who were fleeing. So I imagine they were well paid for their efforts, and they probably attained some level of fame, more than they already had.
They became more famous than Fortune's Favor did.
I mean, possibly, but like Fortune's
They have
Favor
a fucking
were-
religion after them, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I mean, look, Fortune's Favor didn't do it for the fame, and I don't think Lightning Blades did it for the fame either. They did it
They did
because
it for the money.
They did it for the money, largely. No, honestly, they did it because I think ultimately the Vil is pretty much their home, and they wanted to defend it when it came down to it. So they probably took a lot of the money they got paid and turned around and used it to try to rebuild stuff. Like they're good people at the end of the day.
Except for Dunkelmere. Can't trust that fucker.
I can't wait to see Dunkelmere the 15th later on down the line.
Can't talk about it.
Can't wait
Dunkelmere's
to
my
play
favorite.
Dunkelmere the 29th.
Now you're thinking with portals.
I remember the question.
What's that?
I remember the question. Did Serwyn Vardale survive?
I'm gonna roll a dice. Real quick, just roll a die. Let's see.
I mean, Telly Talbert survived.
Yeah,
I
but
mean,
Telly
it's
had the
40
good
years
sense to
later. Couldn't we have just let him die peacefully without asking?
Telly had the good sense to leave when it first
yeah.
started to grow. Serwyn owned the tavern and probably would have been obstinate. So let's see.
Hmm.
Yeah, I need to know if he survived because I need to know whether or not I ever got him his bottle of wine.
Well, it was a floor die, so I don't know if some circles that counts or not. But
Doesn't
it did
count.
fall on the floor.
Doesn't in my circles. No.
It doesn't count in my circles either, but I am gonna take it anyway. But that's because it rolled a 20, so I'm gonna say he survived.
Nice.
Yay!
I was going to say, I just rolled an 18 if that helps on my desk.
Yeah. I just dropped it and it landed on a 20. So
Oh, could we also check in on what's his name from Telic?
the Telic boy,
Yeah.
he's fine.
Yeah, I
What's
figured.
What's he doing nowadays?
He lived a long, happy life, and by the time campaign 2 rolls around, he's probably dead.
Nice.
Did he reclaim his
Good life.
ancestral lands?
That you'll have to find out in the next campaign.
Nice.
Can't
Does-
talk about it.
Does Sir Tony of Hawk have any kids that lived on?
Can't
Did-
discuss Sir Tony of
Did
Hawk.
Sir Tony of Hawk have any sons who survived?
I cannot discuss Sir Tony of Hawk.
Lived.
Beardy.
Yeah.
Do you have any regrets about the campaign? Season 1
Tons.
and Season 2. Are
So
there
many.
any that really stick out to you?
The hags, the sea monster, the dreams. Literally, those were like the big 3, and these guys hit me with all 3 of them. I already mentioned before the Marcus not choosing to hermit crab his way into something cool, and then Levette not choosing to become a dark elf. I mean, look, it went the way it went, and I'm not gonna fret about it. But those are just like regrets from me, from like a storytelling standpoint, to be like, oh, this would be a cool twist if this happened. But people have their own reasons and their own decisions, and that's fine. That's what makes this a game, right? Not a book. I don't know. Let's see what else. I mean, lots of little things that I feel like I could have done better. I mean, that's anyone that does anything. When you're done with it, you look back on it, and you're like, man, I messed up like 100 different ways in 100 different places. So it's hard to say any more than what I already have with any level of accuracy. But it's just a lot of tons and tons of little things. But I think ultimately, looking at the whole thing as a whole, all of campaign 1, I think we told a pretty good story. And that's enough for me, really, at the end of the day.
I agree.
I agree.
What about Pogs?
What?
What are the best moments that you had while
Oh,
DMing
sorry.
the campaign?
I thought you meant milk caps.
I honestly, I went to that too. I was like,
what?
about them?
Did you guys invent those and I forgot about it? Shit.
No, but what about Billy Bass,
Ah, Billy Bass.
the cursed fish?
The cursed fish. Billy Bass went on to live a short and horrific life. He scared a lot of
Unable to
tavern
stop his
people
singing.
until he was yanked off the wall and thrown into a fire. Like, I don't know what to
Aw,
say.
I thought his magic would have worn down, and then we got it really creepy.
I thought they would just use it to market the place. Just kind of make that part of their charm. We're the
Makes
place
sense.
with the creepy fish.
Nah, it terrified people.
Yeah,
They thought it was haunted.
to be fair, if curses are real, do you want to go to a place that is
No.
cursed?
No,
Hmm.
Like,
no,
if-
not at all.
When it's definitively like, oh
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm
you're
already
cursed.
fucking cursed as shit, so who cares?
Yeah.
But,
Related to what you had there, I actually have a follow-up question. Unless you were about to say something.
Oh, it's still the previous question that I had before.
Yeah. is related to the previous question because you've mentioned the Levette with the dark elf thing, and when that episode happened, you gave a kind of synopsis of what could have been. But is there more that like what? How would that have gone now that we are at the end of the campaign? There's no worry of spoilers. If I had gone the dark elf route,
I think that if had you gone the dark elf route, you could have steered that society to be a lot different than it was. It would have put Levette into a position of a lot of power and authority within Dark Elf society. Levette wouldn't have been in line to lead the society. That still would have gone through like Sasho and Moo. But you would have been in a position to where you could have kind of subtly and over time made it a little more equitable and a little less awful for a lot of people. So effectively, like I feel like the end card that would have been around, so instead of Levette fusing into a machine and becoming mother and creating a race of robots, it would have been Levette as a dark elf working tirelessly for like a long time, but eventually like getting rid of slavery in Mythalian society. Like Levette would have accomplished something else of note. Like some other like major positive change would have happened. So like you would have gotten them on a better course, and you would have probably moved them away from the sort of extreme levels of like power and dominance that their culture has turned into, and they would have gone into something a little bit more moderate. They would have been a little bit less terrible. But I mean, I think robots are cool. I think it's fine. Like you got
You're
a new
muted.
race. That's what?
Grem is muted.
Oh. But I was
yeah.
muted. I was like, fuck.
No, yeah, I think that sounds like it would have been interesting. Almost regret that, but almost.
No, I think the vet route I think ultimately is better for the setting.
Yeah, I think it's
like,
more interesting for the setting for sure. Yeah,
because like you don't want to get rid of all your villains, you know?
Right.
What's the point?
And adding it's additive rather than subtractive that way.
Yeah, I agree.
And hey, now rather than worshipping Spider Mom, now Levette gets to be a comparable entity. Maybe not in power, but in function.
In influence, yeah, for sure.
Mm.
Yeah. They both become kind of the central figure of a race. So that's kind of interesting. A lot of parallels there.
Hope mine turn out better than the fucking Weavers. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and they don't like depose you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with that part. As long as they do it for a good reason.
We're tired of the we're tired of Mother's iron fist. We want our own iron fists.
Yeah.
Shut up, Mom.
It's not a phase.
Yeah.
Does anyone have any other questions?
Yes. Once again, any wins for you, Beardy, in this campaign? Things that happened that you're really proud of that happened?
I'm sure there are, but I can't think of any right now that were like okay, hold on. So I'll just think of some of my favorite moments were like I really liked okay, let me ask a question to kind of narrow this down. Do you mean like of what I did, like my performance-wise stuff that I was happy with, or do you mean like just events that happened in the campaign
As a whole. So it can be
Okay.
both.
Okay. Oh shit.
Oh,
So
oh,
I feel the things I did best personally was I really liked Hildy as a character.
that was good.
Of course, Karis was fun to play. I thought that Faustus was a fun character to play for a while. Especially when it was just like, if I give you guys something that's too good to be true,
Oh, fuck
how
it.
many of you will just be completely paranoid the entire time?
I wasn't paranoid. I mean, he's just a rich asshole.
Yeah.
I completely believed that he was willing to help us out, and the ethics of that were obnoxious.
Yeah.
I mean, I've come to pretty much trust you, Beardy. Like, I mean, maybe the Snake Eyes kids have it a lot worse than the Check Please people, so I'm like,
Yeah.
Check Please, this is easy street. We're in the happy fun times. Woo.
But as far as like moments in the campaign that I think were my favorites were probably like the death of Marcus, the fight between Cassius and Petravian. I think both of those were really cool moments. They just happened to both be when Skrewy's characters died. That's not
It's not a
indicative of
trend
my
yet.
favorite parts of the campaign. It just so happens to be when those two things happened.
It's okay. Once, it's okay. Twice, it's a coincidence. 3 times, it starts to become a pattern.
So in campaign 2, if my favorite episode is when your character dies, then it's a pattern, and then I'm an asshole.
Is it, or
Well,
is it
no.
just Skrewy making bad decisions?
Well,
Yeah,
hey,
so
we'll
Skrewy,
find out.
if you die in the next campaign, you have to make sure to go out like a fucking loser,
Oh shit!
so that we don't like it too much.
Yeah.
Or also, you know.
Yeah, you got to die like a chump.
I gotta die in a lame way, you know, like
Yeah.
falling into a large vat of water.
Yeah, drown in a barrel of water. Session 1.
Oh, shit.
Choke on some bread.
Fuck.
That sounds like quite the insult. Choke on some bread. I love it. I'm gonna steal that now.
So yeah, I think there were a couple of really cool moments that I very much enjoyed. I liked you guys talking with Zell. I liked some of the fights. I thought were really cool. I thought I thought a lot of the combat was interesting in certain places. I liked you guys interacting with Burr a lot. I thought Burr was a fun character to play with.
No,
I'm so upset he's gonna be going against our future characters, but it's not like they know him. But
So there's a lot of stuff that I was happy with, and yeah, I'm just generally looking forward to the next one.
Really though.
does anyone have any other questions?
One more.
Okay.
How's Hilly
Okay.
doing?
Yeah, did Levette ever actually rekindle their friendship?
No.
Oh. What about with another wish scroll?
Hildy is taking it day by day, but she's recovering slowly. It's just time is different for Serpentes. And,
Oh my god, get over yourself.
Yeah, right. So she's just
not about
she's just
you.
kind of having a rough time, but she's getting better day by day, and
I hope one day that I can create a black hole with Yaculus where they both hug each other, and the hug is too good that the world ends.
I mean, there is a possibility of that.
I
Like,
know.
both characters are biologically immortal, so they could cross paths.
I'm trying to remember canonically who gives the best hugs. Well, is it not Yaculus by like a hair?
Canonically, the being in the universe that gives the best hugs is Yaculus. That's true.
Thank you.
But yeah, if Yaculus and Hildy were to hug, it might create a singularity. We'll have to be careful with that.
Definitely does it. All right, I have
Ends the world.
one last question for you, Beardy.
Oh shit.
What was your original story plan for season 2?
Really?
You told me to ask this
Oh.
one.
Oh shit! I forgot to. All right, hold on. Let me pull it up here.
Mister, I don't want you to tell me any of the questions before the checkpoint, so I can't be prepared and I can do this all off the cuff.
Okay, the original season 2 outline. Here we fucking go. Strap in. Okay. All right. How do you want me to do this? Just I guess I'll just read it. I'll just read the
Yeah.
fucking notes
Just
word
tell
for
me
word.
what your plans were. Yeah, go for it.
Here we go. 5 years pass. Malefer has been guiding the hive to gather items to start a rebirth. Story starts with them finding the ring in an abandoned Maleferan church. Now, this is the outline. There are detailed pages within this that go into way more depth and have all the descriptions. This is just the overall, like, this is the outline sketch. So this will be a little bit thin. Part A, a new start. Party reunites and has a mission to recover a circlet of Malifera from a lost shrine far to the south. Travel south, make it to the Valley of Set. B, down in the valley. Meets Guardian of the Valley, Nephitis, a Serpentes monk / sorcerer. She tells them to get out and that the valley is full of dangers and forbidden things and an ancient past, parenthetically, like the giant dead bee. Party explains the circlet is inside the bee and they need it. Nephitis will challenge them for the right to enter with a test or two. Part C, Inner World. Party enters the husk of Malifera and attempts to find the circlet, dungeon crawl inside a dead god. Party eventually finds the circlet in possession of a divine parasite that is chewing on its essence. Party retrieves it.
Oh, excuse me.
Sorry.
Keep going.
Continue.
Part D, Res Sickness. With the amulet, ring, and circlet gathered, Malifera will explain that she needs a willing host body to return to the world. Vera will volunteer. They don the items and enter the honey. The area will darken and strange spirits invade the hive. They battle the others while Vera is incapacitated and pull some of the items off of her, interrupting the ceremony. The harvesting some of the energy / items. They looked like creatures that were inside Marcus, the lost souls. Vera emerges coughing from the honey and has been swapped with Hummel.
Okay.
Part
Pretty
E.
much the same.
So pretty much the same. Part E. Hummel and the rest try to figure out what went wrong. They can track the magic item to the Deadlands. The party goes to Ville, travels to the town of Edge to get into the Deadlands, and they meet Serwyn Vardale and Telly Talbert. The two of them ask about the past. The group heads into the Deadlands and tracks the energy from the magic items. Part F. They have to deal with lots of undead in a fort, parenthetically, Grigoli. They find a small cabal of lost souls and have sapped the circlet drive power. Upon exiting the Deadlands have begun to grow, parenthetically, not by much, but it hasn't grown ever, so it's kind of a big deal. Part G. The party brings the circlet back to the hive. Vera can swap back, but the power isn't working to bring back Malifera completely. The party needs to add divine power to the circlet and needs to track down a source that can empower the circlet. They need a lore expert, parenthetically, Biff. Part H, the Serpentes Graveyard. Bring the circlet to the area and it will absorb the ambient divine magic in the area. The area is defended by a giant frickin' snake, word for word. Maybe mummies, parenthetically, snake mummies, question mark.
Ah, yes.
Part I, Take Two attempt to resurrect Malifera, works, but Malifera is a child, question mark. Takes the body of a child that Vera picked up, question mark. Group gets the message from Siva. Serwyn calls for help. Deadlands is expanding and has overtaken the Dead Man's Rest. Siva asks for help to prevent the Deadlands from swallowing up all of Ville. Part J. Siva asked the group to help in stopping the incursion into the Deadlands. A Phantom Legion is marching down and carrying a standard that's spreading the Deadlands defense of Fort Hawk. Part K. Group returns and studies the standard, learns it belongs to a legion that was stricken from history. Parenthetically, Petra knows about this. Something pulls the party toward Proda to find the location of the tomb. A patron will find them interesting and be willing to help them get into the city's archives, which ends up being Faustus. In exchange for fighting in the city's arena for the entertainment of the city, with him as their sponsor. Part L, party is granted access to the Praetorian archives. In the forbidden section, they find an old tome. They're transported into the tome, and a spirit guides them through the knowledge to keep the knowledge from the wrong hands. They venture through the book, end up fighting a dragon or something, get the location of the Tomb of the Betrayer, and the basics of the Protean mega spell, specifically that it's linked to the remains of one who casts it, so to stop the Deadlands, Marcus the Betrayer must be destroyed. Sure. Part M. Travel to the Tomb of the Betrayer, seek away inside, solve a riddle, get inside, go through the first floor, open the tomb in an attempt to fight Marcus. He stuns everyone and leaves. Now his prison is opened and heads to an ancient battlefield to raise a legion. Part in, party travels back east, talks to Karis, gets an understanding of how the Protean megaspell works, comes up with a plan to counter it, must travel to Quintal. Part O, party sneaks / makes their way to Quintal, has a tough time of it, then eventually learns that the mega spell was from a celestial dragon who sacrificed itself to cast the spell, one of a set of twins. So here's where there's a divergent split. Let's see. Kind of. Sorry, it's... Yeah. So this is divergent is part in alternate. Party hot on the heels will witness the fallen legions return as a ghost legion and will march on Proto for revenge. Party must help defend Proto. Part O, party finds that the original mega spell from Quintal was from their Emperor Liu. They know that its power nullified the corrupted Marcus's spells. Party travels to Quintal, must prove themselves in the Emperor's court. Part P, party ventures into Quintal's legendary dungeon and finds the remaining twin to recreate the mega spell to counter the Deadlands. There's a huge dungeon crawl. They journey to their own, within their own minds in a linked vision / dream quest. By the end, they reach the plateau where they can see other beings with the understanding of global harmony, and they see Zell having afternoon tea. Part Q, party must find another dragon willing to sacrifice / kill in order to emulate the spell. Zell is the obvious choice. They must venture to the Merry Valley and convince Zell. Part R, fight and defeat Marcus the Betrayer using the Quintal mega spell. Parenthetically battle around the black box ? And then the final one is just a note to myself, but that's roughly the season 2 outline as it stood, and I had a couple of branches that went off in different ways that ended up changed.
So you had originally said that the way we went ended up being far more interesting. When did you decide to change this?
Part N, I think.
Okay.
Is when it changed. So
and
these
what
these
were
all
our
like
actions that did this?
Part of it was not. Part of it was just as we were getting through the Quintal stuff, realizing that like an extra dungeon crawl there didn't make a lot of sense. So, of like changing that into something else, I think was a little bit better. And then not having you guys fight at Proto earlier, I think made more sense to have you guys have the finale be there. Was more of a climactic situation. Because I think it worked out well to have like a big city on the line in the final battle, rather than have that be something you guys just did earlier on. Yeah, and as you can see, the outline doesn't mention Cassius at all. Like there was a lot of stuff that got added to this later. Like this was the original kind of outline document. So this very much changed as we were playing the campaign. But there were still some beats in there I'm sure you recognized.
Yeah.
A ton.
Yeah, it's quite similar.
So yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that in there that was about the same. But
So Reduvi would have been taken over by
yeah,
Malifera?
that was one of them. The Reduvi would have been the vessel for Malifera in the original outline.
Twisted. I love it.
So yeah, so the Malifera's physical form would have been Reduvi, and I'm like, better not. So just thought better of that one.
All right. Well, that is all the questions I have for you, Beardy, about the past 2 seasons. Does anyone else have any lasting thoughts on this as we close this chapter before we start some mini campaigns before campaign 2?
I had some small questions, but I feel like after that, they kind of feel inconsequential.
Sorry.
Whatever.
Was there a plan for Nessa?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
That's not a I can't talk about it because it's a future thing. That's a I don't want to talk about it.
I'm not gonna.
Good
make
answer.
you
Good answer.
That went not as well as we wanted it to. I think ultimately all around, I think it was just sort of a bad fit all around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I blame myself. Like, as the DM, I'm running the game, I'm running the table. It's my job to make sure everything works from a story perspective. And honestly, I think introducing a character that late in the campaign is just a bad idea, just all around. Like, regardless of any other variable involved, just starting a person in that late in the campaign is just a bad idea, just in general. Like, you shouldn't do it, regardless of who it is or what character they're playing. So I think that's ultimately on me. I shouldn't have had someone enter the table that late in the game. I should have waited till the next season and then introduced a character, which is ultimately what we did, just with a different player. So,
Hello.
hi.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that if the question is, did Nessa have a story arc? No, not really.
Okay.
They weren't
Not
around
really.
long enough to make one.
My curiosity is satisfied.
And there really wasn't one at the get-go. Like, we didn't really have one to start with, which, I mean, obviously is not the best idea. So ultimately, yeah, I blame myself. I'm not here to like throw mud at people that aren't here to defend themselves. I think this is on me. I should have known better than to add a player that late into a campaign. It's a bad idea. So yeah, that's about it. And of course, I could have done better by having a more fleshed out arc for the character that late in the campaign. But at the same time, if you have someone join a campaign at like episode 58 or whatever of 65, like, it's not enough time to do anything, you know? So it's just ultimately, it's my fault. So yeah, that's about it. What else you got?
Yeah, I mean, and this is on a downer question. Fuck.
Yeah, it's the truth, and that's what I'm here to talk about. You know, this is notes on the table.
Any lasting statements about any of our characters anyone wants to say?
I'm gonna miss them.
I'm happy. I'm happy to be done with Risen. They were good, but they were kind of boring to play a little sometimes. But I'm happy to continue on with a new story.
And I love Vera. I am very excited though for Zulin. So it's gonna be some good shit.
Yeah. I'm very excited for the new shit too. Don't get me wrong.
And
I'm gonna miss some of these
thankfully-
NPCs. I'm gonna miss
yeah.
I'm gonna miss Karis. I'm gonna miss Siva. I'm gonna miss Alec.
They're both fucking dead by this time.
Oh yeah, like
Mhm.
we're I think I've said this before. We're jumping ahead like 40 years.
Yeah,
So,
like a lot of
yeah,
people
like,
are dead.
a lot of folks aren't making it. So
Yeah, I'm sure gonna miss Datelove. Sure gonna
why would
miss
you
him.
miss Detlef?
No, because
No,
I mean,
he's
after
dead.
his,
Why
after,
why would
after
you miss Detlef?
I mean, you're right. Why would anyone miss
Yeah.
Detlef? All right,
Did
good
you-
point.
Did you notice
Detlef?
You notice I didn't ask about what happened to Detlef? Because I know I'm going to see him again.
Yeah,
No.
We're gonna
you're
see
never
him
getting rid
again
of
and again
Detlef.
and again.
Darn,
Well,
I'm
hi
gonna-
everybody.
I'm sure I'm gonna.
Hi,
Oh, God.
hi, it's me, Detlef.
He's back, he's back.
Oh,
That absolute red
Oh, hi,
color
Detlef.
on the audio.
well, hi everybody. It's me, Detlef. We're
Farther.
gonna further. All right.
Yeah,
I'll
for
keep-
Detlef.
Hi everybody.
There you
it's
go.
me, Detlef. Welcome to the library. What are you looking for today?
I literally have to mute my mic because it can pick up your voice.
Good. Now, by the time we start recording campaign 2, we should be in a better configuration where that will not be a problem
true.
anymore. So that's good.
So, kind of upcoming plans for everyone. We have a mini campaign called Legends of Adrian Ceremony. And that's all I can really give you guys right now. But I will be the DM for this mini series. And I'm very excited to run it for everyone. We will be having some events from time to time, like some battle royales between characters, maybe a battle royale between Fortune's Favor and the Lightning Blades, see how that really would end.
And maybe a fight between season 1 and season 2.
You weren't supposed to tell them about that yet.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't
Okay.
say shit.
That's what I thought. Ha 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 ha. Anyways, and then after that first mini campaign and all those events, I also have a second mini campaign. But that one will have details revealed much later. So, we hope you continue to roll with us, and we'll keep everyone updated on our Twitter and our Discord for events happening in the future. So stay in touch, read the wiki, and we hope to roll with you guys again sometime soon. Good night, everyone.
Roll for initiative.